And we are here tonight, 9 o'clock on 10 TV Plus. Good evening, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz.
And I'm meteorologist Michael Behrens. It's been a little bit of a warm weekend. We've been watching these severe storms, and now they're knocking on our door here tonight.
They are. I've been watching, you've been monitoring the situation, actually calling the Weather Impact Alert Day 5 days ago, giving people plenty of notice. And we've been talking about that each day since then. Some things, as we've talked about repeatedly, kind of becoming clear, but not really until the event unfolds. And that was earlier today when things really started to fire up to our west. Now, you've been in since early this afternoon. You were in last night into the wee hours of the morning. Tell me, just taking a quick step back, and then we'll quickly get people up to speed, how things have been shaping up according to your perspective.
Yeah, so we've slowed the line down a little bit. We were thinking it could have gotten to our western counties as early as, say, 6, 7 o'clock. We're now coming up on 9 o'clock. It's just now starting to push into those western counties. So it's slowed down quite a bit. The northern side of it has weakened some, but the southern side remains strong. Right now, we have not extended watches into the heart of the 10 TV viewing area, though places like Clark, Champaign counties do have a watch in place tonight. And then we're going to watch to see if we extend that. I think we could. Yep. But wind, I think, is still going to be our #1 threat tonight.
So we talked about that, categorizing the threats that you might see where you live. And if we break it down for you in the big pictures, we still, in much of the central Ohio, the 10 TV viewing area, not currently under watches. Some warnings are getting close. Damaging winds would be the main threat. Hail, very heavy rain, and isolated tornado not out of the question. So that's something we were watching just to the west, actually closer to Cincinnati, between Dayton and Cincinnati, getting rocked pretty hard right now.
Absolutely. So we're going to have to keep our eye on that line of storms right now that's pushing over the 75 corridor. If that holds together into central Ohio, we could see some severe weather watches, maybe some warnings in about the next hour or so. I would expect to start seeing some of those come in.
Got it. Well, let's go take a closer look at some of the radar scans as promised, Michael, and we'll continue to tag team. And while I'm doing this, if you get new information, just shout it out, and we'll be sure to, again, to bring people the information that they need. Right now, we're looking at a couple of scattered, very light showers and maybe a rumble of thunder to the north and east. That's around Johnstown, Mount Vernon, and then pushing away at about 30 or 40 miles an hour. As we expand just to the south and west, clearly what gets your attention is that wicked line of storms. Now, just crossing east of I-75 over the past 30 to 60 minutes, one of the things, and this isn't always a lock, but it's a trend, and when we get in these tight situations in terms of minutes and warnings, we're watching the trends and whether these storms are strengthening or weakening. The majority of this line is still very healthy, but the overall lightning intensity and the count has dropped just a little bit. But you clearly can see some locations in the areas with that orange, and again, Champaign, Clark County, down to the south, and just northwest of Wilmington and Clinton County, those areas actually under a tornado warning. So we're going to take a closer look at some of those spots right now and actually get a closer perspective on some of those storms. If we can zoom back in there. Right now, just west of Wilmington, we're watching Lebanon, Goshen. That particular part of the thunderstorm near Harlan has shown some rotation. And the other thing we're keeping in mind is this area bounded by that orange area. Those thunderstorms have been showing some signs of rotation. So that's what we're watching pretty closely right now and monitoring that as they move back in. Michael, I'm not sure if my magic track is turned on or not, but I have to reach pretty high up there to try and get it, not to make light of the situation, but we're going to zoom back in and take a closer look with that lightning perspective on for you now. It doesn't seem to be quite capturing what I'm trying to. Okay, we're going to zoom in closer to the radar scan. Oftentimes when we're looking for that rotation in the storm, what you see is the solid line of green. That's the wind that's coming toward the radar. We're trying to find within that particular area any green or red that is moving back and forth closer to each other. Not quite seeing that right now, and that's fine. That simply means that it might be a radar indicated tornado, and that's something again that we're looking at, and oftentimes is the case. But still, that tornado warning is extending eastward, going on for at least another 15 or 20 minutes. And those areas, Xenia, Clifton, again just to the west of the 10 TV viewing area, those locations are under a severe thunderstorm warning that's showing some signs of rotation. That's going on until about 9:15, so another few minutes there. And that line again really looks ominous, and it's moving east at about, in some spots, 50 to 60 miles an hour. So put a quick track on that for you, and we'll be watching. Again, this is going to be a pretty large squall line, but I'm going to try and capture areas that might be from Mad River down toward just east of Dayton, and time that out. That does get closer to the 10 TV viewing area. Mad River 914, Harmony 9:30, London, Plain City 9:50, 9:58, West Jeff right around 10 o'clock. So again, that line moving at a pretty good clip, Michael, and we haven't seen any additional warnings coming in lately, but that one still has about 5 or 10 minutes. Not surprised that the National Weather Service, I should say, I am surprised that the National Weather Service has not issued additional warnings for that, given how strong those cells were just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, so we're watching that cell toward our west pretty carefully here. Once it starts to get toward the edge of that warning, the warning expiring at 9:15, we're going to see if they continue to extend that alert some. Yeah. Again, it was issued for the risk of a severe thunderstorm with rotation in it, and we still have that tornado warning just to the south that stretches into portions of Clinton County. So that'll be something to watch here in the next little bit, because of course, as the storm pushes off further to the east, will it continue to keep its strength, or will it start to weaken as it pushes into central Ohio? We've been fortunate that we haven't seen any severe weather out there yet, but interesting kind of thing here we see on radar out ahead of this line of storms. While it's not severe, we have all these other little cells out there, all this other little convection popping up ahead of that line of storms. And that could be some sign that, you know, there's still energy in the environment tonight, because the storms have got to be forming off of something out ahead of it. So it'll be interesting to see if it's enough for this line to sort of gather strength from and continue to be severe.
And one of the things we talked about is also, and no two severe weather situations are alike, but a lot of times we can kind of get a little bit of information from past experiences. I saw some sunshine today as I was driving in, and probably mid-late afternoon. Some of the models we were looking at Thursday, Friday, and even yesterday were showing a significant amount of clearing taking place behind those showers this morning. Yeah. That lagged a little bit longer. Again, it's not a one-for-one because we didn't have a lot of sun. That doesn't mean that we're not going to see widespread severe weather, but that sunshine would have certainly helped fuel some of those storms. Didn't see a lot of that, so that might have actually helped to minimize some of the potential impacts this evening. Yeah,
that's one of the things we were talking about for a couple of days now, that if we get a lot of sunshine, the severe threat would be worse, and if we don't, it would be a little less. And we were doing our 4 o'clock update earlier today. We sort of toured around central Ohio on our tower camera network, and everyone had a good layer of clouds. There were some breaks, there was some sun that made it through, but we never really cleared everything out, which is good news for keeping the severe weather threat low. But as you can see, it's not zero, and we weren't expecting it to be zero tonight. So we're watching those storms come in. Let's go ahead and we'll restart from the top here, and we'll walk you through all of the alerts that we have in place out there, that weather impact alert day out there from now through 2 a.m. for those strong storms possible. We've been telling you for the past several days that these storms were going to happen after dark, and that's what we're seeing out there now. Really haven't seen any of those strong storms make it here with the daylight out there. As we crossed the 9 o'clock hours when the storms really started to push in, damaging wind, hail, and possible tornadoes remain our concern. And make sure you, again, have the 10 TV app installed on your phone so we can get those alerts to you just as soon as they come out. Right now, no storms here in Columbus, but we are seeing the warm air ahead of that line of storms. In fact, look at the difference we see here on the temperature map. That's with the line of storms. We go from 67, 68 from Columbus to London down to 58, 56 on the other side of it. And it looks like we do now have a new severe thunderstorm warning coming into the area. So let's get you the latest information on that thunderstorm warning. That looks to be just on the western edge of the 10 TV viewing area here, really along that line that we were watching, possibly for some rotation in that thunderstorm like we were talking about earlier. This is going to go until, looks like just until 9:15, or it might be.
There's another one further to the east.
Yeah, it looks like the one just a little bit further to the east. Let's go ahead and
Yeah.
move this map just a little bit. We'll get that newest information on there. There we go. Much of a large area under that warning. There's the new warning. Covers out toward London, up to the western border of Franklin County, all the way down to Washington Courthouse for that line of storms. Again, does include that risk for rotation in there. Tornado possible being tagged in that line here. It's going to go until 10 o'clock tonight, stretching all the way over to Franklin County. So this will be something that we're going to have to watch very carefully as that line pushes in, heading over the next little bit. I want to go ahead and duck inside this thunderstorm here, see if we do see any of those areas of rotation out there. We'll use the Wilmington radar here, and what we'd be looking for those areas would be red in green coming really close together. And you can kind of see almost like a little couplet, a little circulation in those signs. Right now, I would say this looks pretty uniform with the exception of what's down here under the tornado warning heading into Clinton County. That would be the portion that I would be most concerned about right now, that part further to the south, traveling along I-71. This is kind of that sign you'd look for if there's going to be a tornado. That's a pretty good signature there south of Wayne. This is going to be heading again into Clinton County, likely tracking north of Wilmington, north along I-71 would be areas to be concerned about. Looks like another one down there north of Harlan. That would probably be heading over toward Vernon and over toward Wilmington itself here in the next probably about 30 minutes to an hour here. So again, this is going to be a line that we have to keep watching pretty carefully to see how it develops here over the next little bit. We'll travel further to the north up past Xenia, Spring Valley. Nothing really jumping out here that says immediate rotation threat, same as we get up towards Springfield. Excuse me, up towards Springfield. Nothing really jumping out. Maybe a little bit of wobbliness to the signature out there toward Urbana, but again, doesn't really look like it's poking out to me, although we do have some new information coming in just now. Looks like a tornado warning coming out. That is down in the Wilmington area. That's going to be stretching into our viewing area here as well. So, Jerry, I think we need a
little
reset and bring
here.
our TV partners in.
Yeah, let's do that. If anybody's listening in the newsroom, if we could go on simulcast them onto 10 TV linear, as well as continue to stream on 10 TV Plus. We do have a tornado warning that includes Clinton County, Fayette County, and Greene County, Warren County. That goes for another half hour. That storm is the same one that has been producing some rotation earlier, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to track that storm for you. I'm going to get back into the chroma key here, Michael. Okay, we'll be continuing on 10 TV Plus. We're going to go also into break into coverage on 10 TV. All right, as we look at the conditions that right now, we do have that tornado warning that has just been issued. Okay, that's okay. We'll continue again on 10 TV Plus and just seamlessly get into other stream. I'm just going to keep on talking, Kyle, so people can, we'll reintroduce ourselves once we get going here. But we're looking again at the opportunity for that thunderstorm to begin to present. Sure, computer, I'm on here. Let's get that, there we go. We're going to zoom in a little bit closer to that particular cell that is just down to the south and west of Columbus. That does include locations in the 10 TV viewing area. Yep, we're going to go on air for those of you that have been watching on 10 TV Plus and are just joining us on 10 TV. We are going to continue to watch and track this particular thunderstorm that has proved to be some rotation in that, and that's why they've issued that tornado warning, those areas that you see in red. So we're looking again at 10 TV Plus streaming viewers. Be joining us right now. We're going to go on 10 TV. We're breaking into coverage right now because of this tornado warning that has just been issued that includes parts of the 10 TV viewing area. We're focusing again on this long area in red that includes Fayette County and Washington Courthouse. Not the thunderstorms to the south, but it's the thunderstorms to the west that are moving pretty quickly. Michael, if you can give me a time on that, or a speed, I should say. I'm going to put a track on that. Yeah,
this particular severe thunderstorm warning capable of producing a tornado near Waynesville, moving east at 55 miles per hour.
I got to really get out of the way here. This means business. That means it's going to be moving very, very quickly. So we're talking about locations around Kingman, around Wilson, Sabina, Jeffersonville, familiar to many, Washington Courthouse. Again, that's Fayette County. That's 949. This is giving you plenty of opportunity, plenty of lead time to enact your severe weather plan. Mount Sterling at 10:01 and Williamsport at 10:07. Again, we're really looking out here, even going well beyond locations that are on the eastern end of that particular tornado warning. So those are things that we're watching again very closely. Nothing happening at the moment in much of central and western parts of Fayette County, but as we expand this view just a bit, we're going to give you a bit of a perspective that does show the areas that we're watching and have been watching for quite some time to the west. This strong line of thunderstorms. You do see the lightning in the different coloration, the deeper reds and the purples, stretching all the way down 75 back to just east of Dayton. Earlier there was a funnel cloud reported near Oxford, near Miami University, and then arcing back towards Cincinnati. You do see those areas shaded in the orange, not to be dismissive.
Jerry, just to cut in here real quick.
Okay.
This is from Dayton Skywarn, report of a tornado touchdown in Waynesville. That report being relayed from a Dayton Skywarn member, says whose daughter is a dispatcher in the area. That is at least a spotter report of a touchdown tornado in Waynesville. That would be the same system here that we're tracking with that tornado warning heading again toward Fayette County.
And again, we're going to try and zoom in a little bit here. Again, this is just outside of the 10 TV viewing area. Michael, thanks for the update. So this is a confirmed tornado from a spotter, not one that has been indicated by radar or not one that is something that is not a confirmed tornado. It is indeed, it has been, as we mentioned that, as I just said a moment ago, there's this same system that earlier produced a rotation and a possible touchdown near Miami University, near Oxford. And this is the storm that's moving east very, very quickly. So areas around Jeffersonville, Sabina, and then over to Washington, those are the eastern edge of that warning right now. So we still have a little time to prepare. So please take this opportunity. If you haven't already, been talking about Severe Weather Awareness Week, an opportunity for you and to keep you and your family safe. So we're going to zoom out and give you a bit of perspective right now, and that would include making sure that the areas that are even north and east of that, you do notice west of Columbus, that includes Union County, Madison County, Fayette County, Champaign and Clark County. Those areas are under a severe thunderstorm warning. Same reason, same line of thunderstorms, but they're not seeing widespread rotation with these particular cells. So that's something we're watching very closely. We're going to take a quick radar tour up and down this particular line of storms for you. That will show the areas that we're watching most closely to the 10 TV viewing area. Again, around Marion, around Kenton, around Bell Fountain, we are seeing some of this area with strong thunderstorms, not severe. So disruptive, yes. So areas around Delaware County, around Marion, and around Marysville, soon to be impacted by these storms. Further to the south, you do see that area bounded by the orange. That is a severe thunderstorm warning. That continues to be the case. We're going to take a little bit of a time here just to let you know that this is still about a county away. And these storms are generally moving about 50 miles an hour. I'm going to put a pretty big track on here for you that will allow areas to get at least some time, some heads up. So if you're in the path of these particular storms, this is certainly something that you want to be ready for. We're giving you ample opportunity. Generally moving that line east at about 55 miles an hour, was it, Michael?
55.
55, so that would put around Urbana, around London, Plain City, 944, 952, Delaware, 10 o'clock, Dublin, 10:02, Columbus, Franklin County, 10:10, and Westerville at 10:13. So keep that in mind if you're in any of those locations. Obviously, we're taking a particular close look right now at the area that is just south and west. That would be the case with that particular tornado warning. So we're looking there, that is the western and southern parts of Fayette County, just west of Washington Courthouse. This storm is still about a county away, so we have plenty of time and opportunity to do what you can to keep you and your family safe. We are seeing a few other garden variety thunderstorms with some lightning and downpours and wind, but it's only that area in the central and western parts of Fayette County right now that is under that tornado warning. So Michael, we've been watching this and it's been moving through rather quickly, and we've been also watching the opportunity for some of these thunderstorms to weaken a little bit earlier and then strengthen. I'm going to put this into motion and take a step back and grab a quick drink of water and allow you to bring people up to speed too, and at least tell them what we're looking at in terms of what we expect, especially in central and southern parts of the viewing area for the next 30 to 60 minutes. Yeah,
so we'll be watching these storms carefully as they push through central Ohio through the next little bit here. If we can pull up Max 2 for some of the latest information here. We now have, and not surprised to see, the extension of that tornado watch now into a good portion of central Ohio, including Union, Delaware, Franklin counties, all under a tornado watch now until 1 a.m. this morning. They've extended that tornado watch as we've seen those storms become severe and work their way closer to us here over the past hour or so. Here's the latest on those warnings that we're watching. A large area under a possible rotating thunderstorm warning. That means we could see any of those rotation areas pick up along this line, potentially very quickly form a spin-up tornado. If you've been watching our coverage for the past several days, we've told you that winds were the biggest concern first and followed by spin-up tornadoes because of the line type system that's pushing our way. And then, of course, we have that tornado warning down heading toward portions of Fayette County, working its way through northern Clinton County as of right now. I want to go ahead and go over to the radar from Wilmington, and we'll take a view inside the storms at the rotation potential that we're seeing here. One of the issues we're going to have here for about the next I would say maybe 10, 15 minutes, is that the rotating thunderstorms are getting really close to the Wilmington radar. The closer you get to the radar, the more you're not going to be able to see those features of the storms, because once you get over top of the radar, you actually get outside of the ability for a weather radar to detect rotation. But the areas of concern right now would be the one that's pushing north of Wilmington and the other one that's pushing north of Midland. Both of those are going to be tracking off toward the east at around 55 miles per hour. We got to zoom out here just a little bit more to show some of those portions of the map there. Jerry, I think I'm having a little bit of hard time there. Switching that. But yeah, so we got to zoom out just a little bit to get a better view of the storm system here. Let me reset off camera here. But yeah, that storm system is moving 55 miles per hour. And looks like we have a new tornado warning coming in now also for part of that storm system, that same one that's pushing through right now. You can see that tornado warning up on your screen there, Clinton, Fayette counties until 9:45.
So, Michael, that storm is the one we've been watching that earlier, and you can see a bit of a rotation. It's very hard to get a lot of detail when the storm is that close to the radar scan, but we are continuing that tornado warning again until 9:45. That other tornado warning that is just adjacent to this one, see them very, very long and rectangular because the storms are moving at about 50 to 55 miles an hour. We do see what appears to be a little bit of a hook echo right there, but there's the radar in Wilmington, so very close. So, unfortunately, it's not getting the best resolution because it's so close to the particular radar site, but nevertheless, that's that particular tornado warning. So that's what we're watching very, very closely. So as we look at the opportunity again for the conditions to be conducive to some of the severe weather, let's take a look at the bigger picture first. In and around Delaware, Columbus, Johnstown, Pickerington, a couple of downpours and some scattered showers. Yes, severe weather not yet. We do see the outer edge of that area of orange. That is a severe thunderstorm warning. That is showing some rotation with those thunderstorms just to the west. So we're going to zoom out the radar map for you and give you a closer perspective then of some of those areas that we're watching and a little bit more concerned about. That being the case, you see how quickly this area lights up with a considerable amount of storminess, and this long area in red, the rectangle, now covers southern and central parts of Fayette County, just south of Washington Courthouse. Would not be surprised if past performance is an indication of how things might play out for the next hour or two, Michael, that we're going to be continuing our coverage because of the severe weather threat down to the south and even areas to the north, including Marysville, London, South Solon, Mount Sterling, and ultimately Columbus could be under the threat for some strong to severe storms over the next 1 to 2 hours. So might be interrupting your show and your coverage. We apologize briefly, but we're doing what we need to do to keep you and your family safe. And the one thing to keep in mind, and then we'll take a little bit of a closer look at some of the radar. It is very simple to remember what to do when a tornado warning is issued for your area. Now, fortunately, we mentioned because of this storms moving at a pretty good clip, that's giving us the opportunity to do a pretty good track on these storms, moving east at about 55 miles an hour. So I'm going to start just north of Xenia, going down toward Wilmington, and then moving that east at about 55 miles an hour. So you see this area at the current speed does go beyond the current tornado warning, but that also includes areas around Obetz, 1013, Circleville, 1018, going back to Mount Sterling, 957, and in Washington Courthouse, 949, Jeffersonville, 940. So that's still about 17 minutes, which is a long lead time when it comes to tornadoes. So that's an opportunity for you to have your plan, gather your papers and your pets and your pharmaceuticals, family members, and get to your safe location. The one thing you have to remember, very simple in this situation because you have plenty of time, 17 minutes in some spots, to get as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We talked about this during our severe weather preparedness week and doing a job of getting to the lowest floor you possibly can. And again, as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So we're going to take a quick radar perspective then and seeing if we can actually get into some of this velocity. And one of the things we're looking at in terms of the velocity scan, that is an area where the radar scan is kind of going, looking at the storm, not necessarily at the strength or the intensity of those particular cells, but trying to discern where we're seeing a little bit of red and some green showing up together. And Michael, I don't know if you've been watching or able to see, give you a little bit closer perspective here. That does show this area down to the south, just south of Wilmington. We're watching that area. If I can get this, I apologize, I'm going to work to pan it down a little bit. Got my knuckles stuck in the way there. This area right here, I think you were talking about this when I inadvertently changed the map on you, just west of Martinsville. That's that couplet right there that begins to show a little bit of that red and green together. That's the whole thunderstorm cell right now. That's the area that we are most concerned about as that area moves off toward the northeast.
Before you move off this view, I'm going to grab it from you real quick.
Go ahead.
Just two areas inside this particular part of the storm that we're actually watching for potential tornadic. One is over here near Martinsville, and the other one is traveling just to the north of Wilmington. So these are traveling very close to the National Weather Service office. Keep in mind that where you see that radar dot in your middle of the screen is actually where the Weather Service office is that's issuing these warnings. So these are very close to their office, and we're keeping a close eye on these storms as they work their way toward us. Again, this is the system that would be heading toward Clinton County here before too long if it maintains that severe strength. Those are the two areas that we're going to have to watch very carefully as they push into central Ohio.
So, Michael, one of the things we've been talking about, and you've been on watching the storm track and the magnitude of this system over the past couple of days, is that this is occurring at night. It's been a couple hours after sunset. Again, identified a couple of areas of some rotation. As we look at, if you're giving me the control back for this, I think I'm on the right radar here.
Yep.
There, thank you very much. We're going to go back to the larger perspective right now and then put it back into a radar scan that you might be a bit more familiar with, and put on some lightning there too. That shows in and around Franklin County, central Ohio, some storms dotting to the north and east around Marion, but that line stretches all the way back toward Logan County, and the southern part of that line is where the severe weather threat is the greatest. Lightning strikes in this particular map of 162, so that's where we're watching then the intensity of some of those storms as they are moving a little faster now, about 55 miles an hour. Further off toward the west, this again is what we're looking at. These storms that are just entering parts of Fayette County, Madison County, Union County, and to the south and west, possibly entering Ross and Pike County too. We're watching those areas very carefully. The storms moving very quickly, and that's an indication again as the storms actually maintaining their strength. We talked about that about 9 o'clock, it was almost a half hour ago, that not all of these storms have maintained their intensity, but sometimes the lightning flashes or some things we're looking at aren't always a 100% lock or an indication of the severity of the storms. And in this case, they have certainly shown signs of some rotation. So we're going to put a track on that for you and draw what appears to be a pretty solid line. We'll call that the squall line all the way back toward the radar site, moving that east at about 55 miles an hour. And these storms are really moving quickly, covering a lot of ground, and they have not shown signs of weakening. So you notice a couple of new towns on this particular track. South Vienna, 935, Washington Courthouse, 950, looking at Hilliard, 959, Upper Arlington, 1006, Columbus downtown, 1010, Circleville, 1018, and Pickerington at 10:26 p.m. So again, those are the locations that are not yet under a severe weather warning or a tornado warning, but the possibility could be very real in the next 1 to 2 hours as that line continues off toward the northeast. Zoom out just a little bit here. We'll hand it over to Michael for a moment, and that will allow the opportunity for us to kind of level set and reset. If you're just joining us, earlier we were on 10 TV Plus. We were watching a considerable line of some of those thunderstorms as they've been moving in. And this area right now is really taking aim on almost the entire western and central parts of the 10 TV viewing area. The areas bounded in the orange, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. The areas bounded in the red, those are tornado warnings, including much of central and southern Fayette County that go through at least another half hour and possibly even longer.
That's right, Jerry. We're keeping a very close eye on this line of storms. If we can switch over to Max 1 now, we'll watch these storms as they continue to push their way through central Ohio. If you're out ahead of this main line, we've been telling you tonight that we're really only expecting the one line of severe weather, and it's going to be this one back further to the west. We've seen some formation, some heavy rain, occasional lightning out ahead of that line, but this stuff is not expected to be the main focus. It's really going to be what we have right now, moving just toward the west of Marysville, down through Urbana, down to Washington Courthouse. This is the main focus of the line as we head through this evening. If I can speak some good news into the line, we're not seeing as strong of winds as we could have seen with this storm as it pushes through. You notice that this is very straight, very perpendicular up and down. That means we're not getting that bowing formation, which means the winds pushing behind it are not quite as strong as what we saw out in Indiana earlier today. We had some of those 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts out there. What we are watching for is that risk of rotation in and along this line, and that's something that we have to watch for as we head through the rest of the night. Jerry, if you could click my magic track button there on one, I think I left it off there. We'll try that again to pull up the latest area inside those storms. We'll go to, again, the Wilmington radar, and we're looking for those couplets to form. And if they form, that's where we're expecting the rotation to be. Good news is up from, say, just to the west of Marysville, all the way down to just north of Clinton County, most of this looks pretty docile in terms of rotation. What we're watching for is going to be that area down in Clinton County right now that's going to be heading toward Fayette County in the next little bit, and those two areas of rotation that we have on your map right now. In fact, I'll go ahead and highlight those for you just a little bit. One area now moving again just to the north of the National Weather Service radar, one moving just to the south. We're starting to get into some better views of that rotation down here, and what we have are those areas where those winds are going away from the radar and those areas where winds are going back toward the radar. And you can kind of see how that makes that rotation pattern there on your screen. Similar thing down here a little bit further to the south of the radar. We have those winds that are going away from the radar and those winds that are going toward the radar. So those are the two areas of biggest concern that we're going to be watching, pushing out of Clinton County and heading into Fayette County here over about the next hour or so. Let me put a little bit of space between those areas of rotation and portions of Fayette County, and we'll put a storm track on here for you as well to watch this storm system as it pushes toward us a little more. And this was traveling pretty fast. This was going about 55 miles per hour, so I'm going to have to stretch really all the way over to the other side of the screen here to get that on screen. That's going to be into Milledgeville by 9:45, Washington Courthouse 9:53, into New Holland by 10:05, Circleville, if it holds together, by 10:26. And then, of course, we've got the area of rotation a little bit further to the south on that line as well. I want to zoom out here just a little bit to get some more space to put that storm cone on screen. Also, moving at just about that same clip, moving in at about 55 miles per hour. We'll track that. Oh, looks like it changed there. We'll go back to that. Jerry, I think you're grabbing control from me there. Let's see if we can zoom back down into that storm down further to the south. We'll watch that area where we're seeing, again, that second bit of rotation. You can see it down there south of the radar on screen as well.
Sorry, Michael.
Oh.
This is the clicker's not behaving. I apologize.
Again, that area of rotation just south of the radar. We'll zoom back down into that area. I'm going to step off here and see if we can get a little bit more.
I was trying to resolve the different sources we've got here. So hopefully if we can go to the Weather 2 computer, Kyle, just give it a little bit of an update there, and then apologies to Michael, who's rocking and rolling with that. But bottom line for us is we're tracking the severe weather for you to keep you and your family safe this evening. Started off as some powerful thunderstorms to the west, Indiana, parts of western Ohio, but now you see that line clearly working toward north central parts of the viewing area just to the west of Columbus and then down to the south. The areas of greatest concern right now are clearly those areas where the orange outline is. Those are severe thunderstorm warnings that go for another 15 minutes or so. Then further off toward the south, we're looking at those tornado warnings, which include parts of the 10 TV viewing area, Fayette County, just south and west of Washington Courthouse. This leading edge of thunderstorms headed toward Pickaway County, not severe, so we're watching that, but the main area, the main thing that we're watching right now is to the south and west of us, just down I-71. So quick look at the hour by hour going through the next several hours, working in from the south to the north and west to the south and east. That line continues to evolve and show some strength around midnight and then move off toward the east as it does so by 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. By then, I think we'll be out of the woods from severe weather, probably long before that, but it looks like it'll be a pretty dicey couple of hours for much of central Ohio as we're still tracking those severe storms. So again, we're looking at the opportunity for some of that severe weather for you. If we can look at get the magic track to work for me this time, not necessarily cooperating, but nevertheless, the area that you see again, bounded in that orange, including areas just west, southern parts of Union County, all of Madison County, all of Fayette County. Those are the things we're watching. So please keep that in mind. And you had an opportunity. Many of these storms are moving at a very good clip, which in one way is bad, but it's good because we're giving you plenty of lead time. Those tornado warnings go for about another 10 or 15 minutes. So we're going to get a closer track of those particular storms for us, and that will allow us to again look down toward Washington County, Washington Courthouse, and Fayette County as that line begins to move off toward the northeast at about 55 miles an hour. So we're going to put a particular line on that, and starting just north and west of Washington Courthouse as that storm is now moving just east of the radar scan. Here, a new warning coming out possibly. Michael, give us an update there in real time if you can. So that shows areas that are very familiar to many of us. Jeffersonville, Washington Courthouse, 941 to 949. That's about 7 to 11 minutes for you to take shelter. Have your severe weather plan in place and get to a safe location. Lowest floor possible. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Your pets, your papers, and your pharmaceuticals, and of course your family members. Number one, get to that safe location and wait out this particular storm. Madison Mills, Mount Sterling, 959. Commercial Point, Circleville, Clear Creek, and Amanda between 10:08, 10:18, and 10:28 as that storm moves just to the east. Now, it's not to say that areas outside of that are not going to see strong to severe storms, because they will, but we're looking at the main focus right now continues to be those storms just to the south and west of Washington Courthouse. So closer look right now, getting down into that particular storm. That is a location that we're watching. There's Wilmington. That's the radar scan. And as Michael just said moments ago, as these storms move east, it actually gives us a bit of a better perspective than the radar scan actually with the storm above it, and that has been showing some rotation. You do see our legend up here that where you see the areas bounded in the red, that's a tornado warning. We have had reports of funnel clouds and confirmed tornadoes to the west of these storms, but this is something that we're watching as those systems move off toward the east, awaiting confirmation. Quick look at the radar scan. We're going to take a little different perspective for you here that shows some of the velocity, and basically this is showing us where those reds and greens are close together. Again, Michael had talked about that just a couple of moments ago, and where that happens, that's what we're talking about. That rotation is a very, very close proximity. So we're looking right now in around Sabina, just east of Wilmington. That area, again, the green and the red very close together, an indication of rotation there. Not necessarily seeing that continuing further off toward the south, Michael. Let me know if you see something different. But again, this storm system, we can go back to the weather main computer, does show some signs of staying strong even past 9:30 tonight.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep a close eye on these storms as they continue to work their way off toward the east. I'll put the two tornado warning pieces of information that we have in place on your screen there. Those are for portions of Fayette County, Greene County, and Highland County, also Clinton County. Those go until 9:45 tonight. So we're going to be watching this rotation again carefully as we head through the next hour or so here as we push those storms into central Ohio. And again, that risk for rotation could extend further north along the line as well. We do have the severe thunderstorm warning for rotation that covers out just to the western border of us here in Franklin County. So we're going to be keeping a close eye inside those storms over the next few hours to see if we see more signs of rotation forming, because if we do, then we might have to have additional tornado warnings come out here tonight. The two that we're watching most carefully, one that's going to be close to Washington Courthouse very shortly, and one that's going to cross into southern portions of Fayette County. I want to go ahead and storm track both of those for you here at this hour. We'll start first with the one heading toward Washington Courthouse. That's moving again to the northeast at about 55 miles per hour. So that's moving at a pretty good clip. It's going to be in the Sabina area by 9:39, Washington Courthouse by 9:51, New Holland 10:02, and into Circleville by 10:21, potentially even as far as Groveport, the storm that's causing this rotation, as we head toward 10:32 here tonight. The southern line, that southern bit of rotation, is going to take its way a little bit further to the south, moving at roughly the same speed here, but it's going to be putting it more toward the Linden area by 10 o'clock tonight. It's going to be into Frankfort 10:08, Circleville 10:25, and over to Asheville by 10:29. So those are the two most concerning portions of the storm that we've been watching. Again, what we're looking at here is the view inside the storm. As for whether or not we can see rotation inside the winds of the storm. And we are watching those two areas where we could see some rotation right now. One, again, right there toward Washington Courthouse, and the other one just a little bit further to the south, coming its way into southern portions of Fayette County. That potential exists more or less all the way up the line, but right now haven't seen any of those rotation signs further to the north. As we travel up toward London, everything on this leading edge is pretty much in line with one another, pretty much all one color. And that's good news. We could see some strong winds, possibly 50, 60 mile per hour, but we're not seeing that rotation potential in the storm. As we travel up toward Marysville, similar thing. We're not seeing any of those areas of rotation that are popping out on radar right now, which is good news. The further north you travel, that we're not seeing that rotation come in, although it does look like we have a new tornado warning coming in. My guess would say this is going to be down along that same portion of the line that we were watching just a little bit ago. And yes, this is just to the north of there, to the north of Washington Courthouse. This one extending from northern Fayette County into portions of Madison, even covering at least a small portion of Franklin County. It does appear here for that same portion of the storm that's been spawning those rotations, that southern portion of the storm. This particular warning goes in place until 10:15 here tonight. That's going to be pushing out of Jeffersonville, out of the South Saloon area, over along I-71. And again, this is that same portion of the storms that we've been watching here pretty frequently tonight. So I want to zoom back down to the bottom there and see if we see any of those additional signs of rotation. Potentially it could be for what we're seeing in here in northern Fayette County, just to the north of I-71. Jerry, any new information in that particular warning box, warning text that came out there?
Yeah, Michael, the sirens are going off here in Franklin County. I want to just let you know what the situation is. As you mentioned, that latest tornado warning that includes Fayette, Franklin, and Madison, Pickaway County, also with hail up to 1 inch. Radar indicated that goes for another 35 minutes until 10:15. So that's something, again, we're watching very, very closely this evening.
Is that's the area of rotation there north of Jeffersonville?
Yes.
I would think. Yes, and 55 as well? 55.
Yes, 55. So I'm going to hop into the camera here, Michael. If you can go to weather backup, Kyle, that will, or you can. That's fine. Either way, to track that particular storm. One of the things we talked about earlier was watching this line, which was a pretty solid north to south line of thunderstorms. Didn't show a whole lot of ebbing and flowing, but there's very nuanced in some of these situations where the particular thunderstorm cells will actually bow out or maybe move a little faster or slower than their near neighbors. So we're not talking about maybe a supercell event, which we had a couple of last year, but we are talking about is a situation where within this particular line, it doesn't take a lot of imagination to see some of these areas which look like a little bit of a hook. Not always a guarantee, but that is a visual sign to the meteorologists, both at the National Weather Service that are issuing these warnings, and to Michael and I as we're tracking these storms tonight. So we're seeing again one right here north and east of Sabina, one just a subtle one northeast of Vienna, but those particular cells, including the one off toward the north, are what we're watching very closely. So we're going to take a little perspective right now, move off toward the northeast. That's the one that we're looking at, the newest tornado warning, that is just northeast of Jeffersonville. That includes Midway, that includes southern parts of Madison County, just south of London, Mount Sterling, Harrisburg, Commercial Point, and Darbyville. And as expected, National Weather Service is giving you plenty of lead time. We've got some sirens going off now in Hilliard. We've got multiple warnings coming in right now. So that again, this severe thunderstorm warning is now again producing an extension of that tornado warning. Clinton, Fayette, Pickaway, and Ross County also going for another 33 minutes until 10:15 p.m. So again, very important for you to stay weather aware, stay alert. That's why we're breaking into and going on extended coverage for you this evening, because of these multiple severe thunderstorm warnings, which have now turned into and led to multiple tornado warnings for the 10 TV viewing area. So we're going to zoom out, set the stage for you. But while I'm doing that, please know you have an opportunity. Minutes, which can save lives, minutes give you the opportunity to take your action plan and put it into action. It simply means, as we've talked about during Severe Weather Awareness Week, that you have an opportunity to begin to take your family, your pets, your medications, your important papers, and get to your safe place. If you live southern parts of Fayette County, central Fayette County, southern Madison County, southwestern corners of Franklin County, central and western parts of Pickaway County, and northwestern parts of Ross County, this is your opportunity to seek shelter and do as I just mentioned, keep you and your family safe. Get to your safe location. If you don't have a basement or somewhere below ground, you want to go to an interior room or a closet. It's common sense. It might take a second to think about it, but it could save lives as you're looking at the potential for tornadoes this evening as we come up on 9:45 on Sunday night. You do see these areas, the extensions of red, those are multiple tornado warnings. These two in particular go until 10:15, so clearly another half hour of extremely dangerous weather. And if you're in the path of those particular storms, you need to take shelter now. So we're going to zoom in a little bit and do what we can to put a track on these storms because they're moving so very quickly. So they're moving east at about 55 miles an hour. So track on that. We're going to do a squall line, which captures quite a bit. Another tornado warning coming back in, Michael. I'm not sure if that's an extension of an existing warning or one.
I think that's the extension of the southern Fayette warning that looks to cross now into portions of Ross County down toward Frankfort. Really, all three warnings, extensions off that initial formation there, still moving northeast at about 55 miles per hour. This new one covers Fayette, Clinton, Highland, Ross, goes until 10:15 tonight.
So all those three warnings, again, very elongated, which is not terribly unusual given the situation. But as we're watching that line, we have been watching it very closely because earlier this evening, about 8 to 9 o'clock, as we talked about coming on air and doing a stream on 10 TV Plus, that has allowed us the opportunity to begin to look at some of the severe weather threats as they move back in to the 10 TV viewing area. This storm's maintaining strength, their intensity, and that's a dangerous situation compounded by the fact that these storms are occurring at night. It's dark. And one other thing to keep in mind, your number one priority while you're listening or watching to us is to keep you and your family safe. We do not want your pictures or your videos or your firsthand accounts of the severe weather. We want you to be safe. So it might sound somewhat simple, but please keep that in mind. There's no safe place outside during a tornado. We want you to be inside in your safe place. So we are going to put a track on this one, as I tried to do just a moment ago, but that other warning came back out. With storms moving east-northeast, it's still about 55 miles an hour, Michael?
Yes, moving northeast 55.
So 55, it's really moving fast right now, and possibly because of the extension of those warnings. First things first, Washington Courthouse, 9:48. You have a few minutes. Seriously, take shelter. New Holland, Williamsport, 9:59, 10:06. Asheville and Circleville, talking about Pickaway County. Now, Pickerington, Amanda, and Lancaster. Fairfield County, all the way out to Buckeye Lake. These last few towns and cities are outside of the scope of the current tornado warnings, but consider yourself lucky that you've got even more lead time in case those thunderstorms maintain their severe levels as they move off toward the east. And they have just been racing eastward at over 50 miles an hour as they moved out of southern Indiana between Dayton and Cincinnati. There were earlier some tornado warnings there, Michael, but not quite the extent that we've seen right now. Yeah,
and we've seen a lot of these warnings kind of coming fast and quick here, especially if that southern portion of the line. I want to grab away here for Max 1 real quick. I just show you some of those safe spots that you can go during these tornadoes. You want to get away from the exterior walls of your house, away from any windows or doors that lead to the outside, hallways, interior stairwells, in a bathroom if it's got no outside walls or windows, or an interior closet. Those are the best places to go. If you have a basement, that is the #1 best place for you to go to take shelter during these storms. If you live in more of a high-rise structure, in that case, you want to get to the lowest floor if possible. If you can't get to the lowest floor, the next best advice is to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And if you've got something like a pillow or a blanket to cover your head with, that's another good piece of advice to take during these situations, because again, these tornadoes are going to possibly spin up very quickly here along this line of thunderstorms, and we could see that threat continuing for the next little while as we head into this evening, as we've seen a good number of storms push their way into central Ohio as we head through tonight. We're seeing those warnings come quickly with this system as we continue tonight, and we've picked up another thunderstorm warning right now. That includes all of us here in Franklin County. That includes southern portions of Delaware County out toward western Licking County, western Fairfield County, also under this warning. It's also for the risk of rotating thunderstorms, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and quarter-size hail. This is going to continue until 10:45 tonight. That's going to be for this entire area, now highlighted here in the orange, as these strong and potentially dangerous thunderstorms continue to work their way through central Ohio. It's going to be a long night here still for these storms to push through, Jerry.
So, Michael, you've been talking about these storms even beyond the rotation. You just mentioned this additional extension of that severe thunderstorm warning right now. We're looking at the areas, especially just in and around Franklin County. We're going to go back and kind of zoom out just a little bit and give you the perspective, and also move this just a bit to show you the storms coming back in from the west. You do see again that very significant line of thunderstorms right now, which has been producing a lot of lightning and of course those multiple warnings. A quick recap in case you're just joining us. Earlier in the evening, again, a lot of severe weather in those thunderstorms moving in from the west across Indiana and across parts of southwestern Ohio. As we look at the situation as it's evolving now, we're seeing a continuation and extension of those severe weather areas. The areas bounded in the orange, those are the severe thunderstorm warnings. The most recent one goes until 10 o'clock. Also an extension into Franklin County that goes into 10:45. So again, we're watching that situation very closely as those storms race off toward the east. We can go back to Weather 2. That will show a little bit of the warning outline in a different perspective, and then the latest ones that begin to move in from west to east. Areas in orange, those are bounded. Those are severe thunderstorm warnings with some rotation. Areas in the red, those are those tornado warnings. So it looks like, again, a very significant severe weather event, unfortunately impacting much of metro parts of central Ohio and Columbus and happening at night. Even more of a reason to be weather aware, which is why we're continuing our coverage for you this evening as we move into the nighttime hours and track these particular cells. So again, we're going to slow things down just a little bit, and that will allow for us to begin to move into track these particular cells. Trying my best to get this to work, and it's just not cooperating, Michael. So if you could, yeah, there you go, slow it down. Thank you so much. Just looking at the opportunity again to track these cells. I'm going to slow the radar down. I'm just going to have you do it for me because obviously it's not working. Thank you. Just draw the line starting just west of Columbus and Franklin County, and then pulling that out to about 55 miles an hour. These are the locations that we're watching and tracking moving off toward the east, and doing so again at a very fast pace. So areas to the east, we'll clean that up a little bit and put that back on for you. Moving very quickly off toward the east. And notice too that some of the counties and communities, Logan, Newark, Granville, Lancaster, and Pataskala, are beyond that orange boundary, beyond that orange rectangle. That simply is showing the speed of these storms. They have shown to maintain their intensity. So if you live in those locations, including areas to the west, Plain City 950, Dublin 959, Columbus proper 1006. So you've got about 15 minutes in downtown Columbus to be ready for these severe storms. At the moment, it's a severe thunderstorm warning, but these storms have a history of rotation, which means it won't take much energy or time for those storms to potentially turn into tornado warnings. So please keep that in mind as you're making your preparations and your plans this evening. Again, Pickerington and Pataskala and those counties off toward the east. We're going to sound the all clear momentarily for areas in western parts of Madison County, west of Marysville, out toward Logan County and Bellefontaine, western parts of Fayette County. Still some showers and maybe a rumble of thunder, but the worst of that weather is moving to the east. So you probably can come out of your safe zone, your safe area right now if you're in those communities that I just mentioned. But if you're not, and specifically Delaware, right down 23, Delaware to Columbus to Circleville, and everybody to the west of that, all the way down to Chillicothe, these are severe thunderstorm warnings that are showing rotation. In the areas in red, those are tornado warnings that have been ongoing now for about the past 2 hours. So please, if you don't have a plan, it's very easy to make one on the fly. You put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Seek your safe location, preferably underground. If you have a basement, that's the number one priority, number one location. If you don't, again, an interior room. Take your pets and your people and your papers with you, and you don't know what you're going to come out to if it happens to actually strike where you live or your location. So keep that in mind. Michael, if it's any additional information regarding that particular storm, I think they're carving out the back end of those storms as they're moving so quickly to the east. Not to mean that that's good news, but we are going to be able to sound the all clear for some of our friends just west of London and west of Washington Courthouse. Yeah,
I would say places in Logan County, you're pretty much in the clear as of right now. Champaign County, Clark County would probably be in the clear as well. We've got some portions right now of those counties that remain under that initial severe thunderstorm warning, but it's really what we've been saying for days now. It's going to be kind of one and done when it comes to severe weather tonight. Once you get past this first line of severe storms, you should be able to go to bed, not have any problems back out toward the west. So Urbana, Bellefontaine, Springfield, really getting close to that point in Marysville, but I wouldn't quite sound the all clear for you guys just yet. But most of the rotation has stayed on that southern side of the system, so we're going to have to watch that part very carefully. I'll take a look inside the storms here again. We'll use that Wilmington radar to take the better view inside the storms there, and we're seeing a couple areas of rotation down mostly in Fayette County that we have to watch pretty carefully. Let's zoom into some of those spots out there and bring you the latest information on that rotation. Not as strong, I would say, as what we saw a little little bit early ago back in Clinton County, but there's several areas worth watching, including what looks to be at least some weak rotation pushing out of northern Fayette County, possibly some better rotation that I would see down here just to the east of Washington Courthouse. That looks like it's about to cross over US 35 in the next little bit. I'm going to pan a little bit further to the east just to give us some space here, and we'll try to track some of those areas of potential rotation as they get closer to us here in more central portions of Ohio. We'll track that one near Washington Courthouse because that one looks to be the more organized version of rotation to me. That's going to be over toward Clarksburg by 10:06, Circleville 10:19, Clear Creek 10:27, into Lancaster by 10:40, Logan by 10:48. So this is going to be something to monitor very closely as it pushes through and gets closer to some of these towns here, working its way again from the Washington Courthouse area down in Fayette County off toward Circleville. The other area, weaker rotation right now, but still at least some sign there that we're seeing some of those winds away and back toward the radar. That's coming out of northern portions of Fayette County. This one, if it was going to track its way off to the northeast just a little bit, could potentially impact portions of Franklin County. Let me pan this map down just a little bit so you can see more of that storm cone there. That's going to be in places like Mount Sterling here before the next little bit. We'll put the city track back up on this cone for you as well. That's going to be moving its way toward Mount Sterling here, 9:59, Commercial Point by 10:12, into Asheville by 10:17, and possibly close to the Obetz area by 10:21. So again, portions of Franklin County are under this severe tornado warning here as we head through tonight, and that severe thunderstorm warning as well. That tornado warning right now only covering the southwestern side of Franklin County. It's for radar indicated threat on the leading edge of the storm system. We were talking about the possibility for spin-up tornadoes, and that's what we're seeing here tonight. It's not the long track classic style supercell tornadoes. These are going to be embedded in the line and could quickly form and dissipate as that line pushes through. Further to the north, strong severe storms working their way into western Franklin County. This is going to be heading toward Hilliard here before too long, also into the Dublin area. In addition to the tornadic risk, which so far has stayed a little bit further to the south, we have 60-mile-per-hour winds that could be possible with this storm system, in addition to possibly as big as quarter-size hail with this system too. Franklin County, including the city of Columbus, under a severe thunderstorm warning until 10:45 tonight. That warning extends up north into Delaware County as well, where we're seeing again the possibility for those strong thunderstorms. Thankfully, so far, none of those that have been rotating, but again, we will watch that carefully as that could change quickly here as we head through the next few hours. Right now, though, we have those 3 tornado warnings in place. I believe all 3 of these go till about 10:15 tonight. So that would be about another 20 minutes from now if we see those signs for rotation continue and see those storms continue to work their way off to the north and east. We've had at least radar confirmation, not radar confirmation, but radar indication of tornadoes and some of those reports of funnel clouds earlier tonight. So certainly something to take seriously as they move in.
Michael, excellent job really describing the big setup down to the small details of the storm. We've been watching this line of thunderstorms over the past couple of hours, really maintaining its strength, and that's something we weren't sure was going to happen literally until the event was upon us this evening. That's why we were first on 10 TV Plus, and be sure to download that app just so you can catch us and whenever there's a threat of severe weather. And we just kind of segued and transitioned right into live 10 TV. Quick breakdown of the warnings right now. You do see the areas bounded in the orange. That includes southern Delaware County, western Licking County, western Fairfield County, Franklin County, down toward Pickaway County and Ross County. Those are severe thunderstorm warnings. The areas in the red, those are tornado warnings. At the moment, as Michael just mentioned, we have not seen or heard of any ground indication. That does not mean you let your guard down. The radar is doing its job in trying to peek inside those thunderstorms and detect rotation, and has done that earlier this evening. We have had some confirmed reports of tornadoes in circulation reaching the ground around Miami, around Oxford, parts of southern Indiana, and around Cincinnati. But you clearly see the storm moving off toward the east, and a lot lot of lightning with those cells. Again, Marion, Delaware, Marysville, and then back toward parts of Madison County. I do want to let you know, if you are in Marysville, if you're in London, if you're in Jeffersonville, you are in the clear in terms of the threat for tornadoes or severe weather. Still some active weather, might be a bit bumpy at times, but that threat is passing you by to the east and doing so very quickly. Washington Courthouse right on the edge, still stay in your safe place. New Holland, Circleville, Asheville, and in downtown Columbus and points to the southwest, not so much. So again, looking at that particular line and zooming out just a little bit, there's some active weather to the north of Delaware, Marion, active weather south and west of Chillicothe, but clearly those three areas, those tornado warnings go on for another 15 minutes. And that's where we're focusing the majority of our attention this evening. So closer inspection right now, we're going to take a closer look at and just walk you down that particular line. And that radar map for you does show an indication then as we look just to the north of that line, and we're going to go right down from north to south. So this is Ostrander, there's Marysville, severe thunderstorm warning, Powell, Jerome Township, and Dublin, right around 270 and 33. Plain City right in the thick of the severe weather. At the moment, we're talking severe thunderstorm, gusty winds, and hail. Tornado threat is to your south. Further off toward the south, we're going to again continue to move in that general direction, getting into the areas just west of Hilliard, West Jefferson, Prairie Township. Then you see that red outline beginning to move in. That is the area where the tornado warning is in effect, because those particular cells west of Harrisburg, north of Mount Sterling, and southeast of London, south of West Jeff, is where that rotation has been happening. Further off toward the south, the tour continues. Mount Sterling, Darbydale, Commercial Point, just west of Asheville, but please take shelter in Asheville, Circleville, and Williamsport, New Holland, and Clarksburg. This storm means business. Has shown some rotation by the radar for the National Weather Service. That is why we are under the severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings. Further off toward the south, just north of South Salem, west of Frankfort, and these storms racing east at about 50 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour. So again, be weather aware. You've got to. We've given you the heads up you need, hopefully to keep you and your family safe. We are going to put a track on these particular storms because they're moving so quickly. We're going to take off the lighting for you and clean it up just a little bit, move it a little further off toward the south. That will give you an opportunity then to be able to capture the areas we're most concerned about. You do, Michael talked about this earlier too. This line, which had been pretty much behaving as expected, kind of a straight line, now showing us some little intricate nooks and crannies, for lack of a better term. And oftentimes those will be just the pockets where that severe thunderstorm begins to rotate and spin, and that can, what we call a spin up tornado, could happen. So again, Lockburn, Mount Sterling, Clarksburg, Washington Courthouse, South Salem, and just northwest of Chillicothe heading towards Circleville, those storms are moving east at about 50 miles an hour. So we're going to put a track on that for you. Starting to the north, just the northern edge of that is just south of Interstate 70, still in Franklin County. Moving off toward the south, all the way through western parts of Pickaway County, and then capturing that just north of South Salem. Moving east-northeast, still very consistent at about 55 miles an hour. Those are the areas we're most concerned about in the very short term. 5 minutes from now, Grove City. A little more than that, Commercial Point. Circleville, 1015, Clear Creek, and Pickerington, 1024 and 1025. You will notice these last handful of towns and cities, our communities in central Ohio, are beyond the tornado warning. Would not be surprised to see at the very least a severe thunderstorm warning extended to include those communities: Buckeye Lake, Somerset, Lancaster, Laurelville, and Logan, for example. Please be weather aware. Please have your plan for severe weather and be ready to act that plan in a moment's notice. And if you're wondering, Jerry, what do we do? It's very simple, especially in a severe weather situation or unfortunately a tornado warning. Put as many walls between the outside as possible. If you've got a basement, that's your best place to be. If not, again, an interior room or a closet, a bathroom, a better place to be. And don't forget your family members, your pets, important papers, because you do not know what you're going to be coming out to if a tornado or damaging winds were to strike your particular location. Michael?
Yeah, I want to switch back to Weather One here real quick. In some added context, when those tornado warnings first came out over toward Clinton County and toward Waynesville, we had that spotter report down in this area, potentially for at least a spotter reported tornado. Our news partners over CBS over in Dayton, WHIO, they have reports of damage to homes in the Rainsville area, and that would be for the storm that is now pushing in to southern portions of our viewing area, working its way now into portions of Pickaway County. That would be that area of rotation that's working its way towards Circleville. So of the 3 tornado warnings that we have, that could be some indication of which one at least has a history of producing damage, and that one that came out of Waynesville definitely seems to have at least had the history of producing some pretty nasty storm cells here this evening. Still remaining under a tornado warning right now for about the next 12 minutes, 10:15, when these warnings are set to expire as of right now. Let's take the latest look into the storms and see what we see as far as how those winds are going. If we're seeing any signs of rotation as these storms continue to push off in toward portions of Pickaway County. Unfortunately, I think we still see some sign of at least a moderate rotation in Pickaway County. I want to go ahead and take a closer look into that here. Definitely seeing some of that rotation potential there northwest of Circleville. We'll get a little bit closer, put some of the roads on here. This is going to be near Darbyville right now. You can see kind of that area in here where the winds go toward the radar and the area down here where the winds go away. So this is going to be an area to watch very closely down toward Darbyville. This is going to be north of Ohio 316. It's likely going to travel right along 316, possibly over toward Asheville and US 23 as we continue to watch these storms over the next 10-15 minutes here. This is going to be taking it to near Commercial Point, Ohio 104, US 23, Ohio 752, Asheville, all areas that are in front of this area of rotation that's working its way off to the north and east. I want to zoom out just a little bit more here, and we will see if there's any other interesting areas of rotation in this line, because of course we have the possibility for rotation along that particular portion of the line. I want to move just a little bit north into southern portions of Franklin County here as well. We were watching the possibility for some rotation that could be working its way into southern Franklin County. It's not particularly jumping out to me as being as strong as what we see down in Pickaway County near Darbyville. I think that's probably the stronger cell, the more concerning one right now. Maybe some weak rotation now getting its way into portions of Franklin County. It's going to be worth watching carefully as these storms push in. Let's switch to the traditional radar view here. You can kind of see we're on that leading edge heading into portions of Franklin County right now. Definitely some heavy rain, possibly some small hail and gusty winds that could go as high as 60 miles per hour. So get ready for those if you're in Grove City, if you're traveling along I-71 down to Harrisburg. These are all areas that are going to see those heavier storm impacts work their way to you pretty quickly. We'll travel a little bit further to the south along the areas still inside a tornado warning. We get down to Darbyville again, and you can see it in the traditional radar, kind of that little hook as we get down in here. So that's those rotation features that we're watching for. And I would say from what I'm seeing, at least right now, that's probably the most concerning portion of the storm that we would be watching. So I want to track the cell that's coming from Darbyville off to the north and east here over the next little bit, because we could certainly see that threat continue from that cell, moving east-northeast at about 55 miles per hour. That's going to be putting it well off toward the east, even toward portions of Fairfield County here before too long. I stepped just outside of the screen before I could get my cone in there. There we go. Commercial Point 1012 into Groveport 1027, Canal Winchester 1030, Pickerington at 1034, and over toward Newark by 1101. I think of the storms that we're watching right now, that one definitely showing at least some continuing signs of rotation. What's working its way up into southern Franklin County, definitely showing some signs of potential strong wind, heavy rain, maybe even some of that hail out there as well. We really haven't looked too much at the hail with this system. Give that a second to load in. I would expect probably close to pea-sized hail. There were some reports from the west of hail covering the ground as the storms passed through. Wouldn't be surprised to see that come out of the system here, but right now I would say that's certainly less than severe hail, so I wouldn't be overly concerned about that hail that's coming down in Groveport, but keep in mind that it is coming down. We will watch again closely the wind field in that part of the storm to see if we do see changes to it. But again, right now, I think it's that one down toward Darbyville that still has my most concern, because that's where you again see those stronger signs of winds going both away and back toward the radar. I'm going to zoom down just a little bit further to the south here as well, see if there's any other spots that stick out to us as we get down toward Ross County. You can kind of see a little bit of the waviness to this, but nothing particularly says tight, immediate danger in terms of rotation. It's really going to be more toward the north again. Jerry, what we were talking about there, that spot near Darbyville, that I think is probably the stronger rotation at the moment.
Yeah, very subtle, but something we're watching very closely, Michael, as that area begins to move to the east. What we're also watching right now, just to kind of zoom it out and give you some perspective if you're just joining us, I know we're interrupting programming, but it could be a life-saving endeavor as these severe thunderstorms and tornado warnings move into central Ohio, including Delaware County, Franklin County, Pickaway County, Licking County, and Fairfield County this evening. Right now, you're seeing some reports of hail in around Powell, Dublin, also that deeper purple, Westerville soon to be under the gun, Columbus, you're on the edge right now. We are watching a little bit of good news, and we're going to scan further off toward the south for you. That shows that area bounded in red. That still includes where Michael just was speaking about that tornado warning. So as we look at just a little bit further off toward the south there, that area to the west, West Jefferson, Mount Sterling, you are in the clear. Midway, the storm is racing to your east. London, you can breathe easy. Downpours, gusty winds, maybe some lightning, yes. Severe weather and tornadoes, no, they are passing you by. However, Columbus, Obetz, Asheville, and Darbyville, you're right in the thick of the storm. Most concerned about, as Michael just mentioned, that particular cell just east of Grove City. We're going to zoom in a little bit closer to that particular cell just to give some perspective and also some roads. Very populated area right now. There's 270 Prairie Township. Again, we're looking at a little bit closer perspective right now. The areas we're most concerned about. Frank Road, very familiar with 104 going across the county. And again, there's 62 going from Columbus back down right through Grove City as well. So those are the areas we're most concerned about. Please, if you're listening to us right now, seek shelter if you're not already. Can capture us on 10 TV or 10 TV Plus as we're streaming live in order to keep you and your family safe. So we're going to zoom back out right now, and that will give us an opportunity to focus on the southern part of this particular storm as it races off toward the east at about 55 miles an hour. So we've been watching and tracking these storms over the past couple of hours, and they have continued to overperform in terms of what was expected to be a pretty active evening, but not exactly something that's easy to predict the location and timing of these cells. We are looking again at not just severe thunderstorm warnings for all of Franklin County, but Grove City, Harrisburg, Commercial Point, and over toward Lockbourne, soon to be under the threat for those significantly severe storms. Even if you're not under that tornado warning, you are under the threat of some severe weather. That being the case again with gusty winds at 60 miles an hour and seeing reports of hail up to 1 inch. Further off toward the south, now we're getting into Pickaway County. There's Darbyville, soon to be in Asheville, Circleville. You're not under a tornado warning. You're under a severe thunderstorm warning, but that threat could move to the east, just around Williamsport and east of New Holland. Again, areas that we are very concerned about right now. So a little closer inspection to those locations. There's Commercial Point, there's Lockbourne, Williamsport, there's State Route 56 crossing, there's 104 going to the south, and of course, there's well-traveled 23. So if you live around or familiar with some of those roads, please, this is your opportunity to seek shelter. Talked about it, but at the risk of repeating ourselves, we'll mention it again. In this situation, you don't want to necessarily go out, please don't go out and take any pictures of the storm. We don't want to see videos of the storm. We don't want to see pictures of hail. We want you to do what you have to do to keep you and your family safe. So specifically, we're talking to parts of Franklin County around Grove City, Darbyville and around Asheville and around Circleville, west toward Williamsport and further off toward the south, even in parts of Ross County, a little further off toward the south there. These are the communities and counties that we are most concerned about right now as those tornado warnings continue for at least another few minutes, at least for another 3 minutes. Further extension of that line does continue to show severe thunderstorm warnings being a threat. So we're going to recenter the map, we're going to put a track on that, and we're going to continue to cover this as long as possible. Again, this is not something that we enjoy, this is something that we do. It's what we are obligated to here at 10 TV to keep you and your family safe. So we're going to track those storms. but I can hopefully allow myself enough space because they are really moving fast, all the way from Columbus back down toward parts just west of Circleville and just to the south and west of Chillicothe, then moving off toward the east, barely leaving myself enough room at about 50 to 55 miles an hour. Frankfort, Circleville, and Pickerington, 1013, 1021, and 1030. Pataskala, 1035, Lancaster, 1040, Buckeye Lake, 1047, Harbor Hills and Logan, New Lexington, Crooksville. These areas are currently not under a severe thunderstorm or a tornado warning, but you've got even more time than your friends and neighbors to the west to be ready. Be ready for this severe threat as it is bearing down on us this evening. So we're going to take that off and take a kind of a perspective again, zooming out just a bit to give you that idea of areas that are in the clear or areas that are not. Areas to the west of this particular line, not terribly concerned about ongoing severe weather. That threat pretty much is over. Marion, Marysville, Bellefontaine, Logan County, Champaign, Clark County, much if not all of Madison County. Fortunately, Fayette County, which had the first tornado warnings earlier, you are now in the clear. Areas to the east that are not in the clear, central Delaware County, Franklin County, including Columbus, down to the south around Pickaway County and Chillicothe. And although that line extends just barely into parts of Licking County and Fairfield County, Newark and Bremen, and down toward Logan and northeast toward Knox and Mount Vernon, Knox County and Mount Vernon, those areas again under the threat at the very least for some disruptive gusty thunderstorms. Hopefully, and Mike, I don't know if you've had any new information as we're just about 30 seconds away from those tornado warnings either being dropped or extended. Hopefully we will see the line continue to weaken ever so slightly and that rotation will stop. Again, still a disruptive, bumpy ride this evening, regardless of the ongoing severe weather threat. So do what you can to keep you and your family safe east of that line.
Yeah, we're going to keep a close eye on those warnings. No new information yet as to the future of the warnings. I'll show you the view here from our Scioto Audubon camera. It is starting to come down here in the Columbus metro area with plenty of lightning as well. If we can take weather 1, we'll show you that view here of those storms coming through the region right now. This is a live view from our weather camera network. The rain coming down, the winds starting to bounce the camera around out there as well, and frequent lightning as these storms are pushing in here this evening. So this is going to be definitely an area to watch as these storms continue to push through, see if they continue to maintain their strength. And if nothing else, they're going to be prolific wind and rain producers as they push through central Ohio. I'll switch to our tower camera here on top of the building. A similar picture here getting tossed around. Says sustained winds at 8 miles per hour, but I think that's going to likely pick up here before too long. There's some big bright lightning coming down across the region. I'm looking over at our smaller weather station that we have here in the weather center, and we recorded a peak wind as high as 39 miles per hour pushing into the region right now. So again, this is all going to be interesting things to watch as the system pushes in. This is some video from just outside our station a few minutes ago. Look at that cloud formation, Jerry. That is a ominous looking cloud,
wow,
to say the least, as it pushes into central Ohio. Definitely a strong line of thunderstorms heading our way and really pushing through right on top of us right now. Though I do want to go ahead and get back to Max 1 here. Good news for the moment. They've allowed the tornado warnings, all 3 of them, to expire, but we're not quite out of the woods just yet. We still have severe thunderstorm warning in place. This will be in place till at least 10:45 tonight, and it does include that risk for continued rotation out there as these storms push through central Ohio right now. They're coming through here in Columbus. So again, a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain, possibly some small hail, and winds that could get as high as 60 miles per hour with this storm. So this is going to continue to work its way off to the east. It's moving at about 55 miles per hour. So we'll put the tracker on the entirety of the line here and watch it as we push off toward the east. Again, about 55 miles per hour. So this is moving pretty quickly. I think it might even be outside of the current warning before that warning expires. This would be in Circleville 1021, Pickerington 1025, Lancaster 1038, Newark at 1042, Logan 1056, and to Zanesville by 1107. So this is going to be worth still watching here tonight. But at least for the moment, good news that we don't have the tornado warnings in place anymore. I do want to take a peek inside the storms because we do still have that rotation potential out there and see if we do see any ominous signs along this particular line. We'll zoom in just a little bit closer, especially down into portions of Pickaway County, because I think that's where we had the better signs of rotation earlier. Maybe still some of that weak rotation near Asheville. But again, the Weather Service not seeing enough here to continue those tornado warnings as of right now. We'll zoom out a little bit and sort of travel north up toward Groveport. Again, maybe a little bit of rotation, definitely some strong winds working its way toward Groveport. And again, further to the south of Circleville, maybe a little bit of weak rotation, but not those strong signs that we were seeing earlier. But again, still enough that we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in place till 10:45 for the potential of rotation in these thunderstorms, Jerry.
So, Michael, we're going to stay on for at least another 20 or 30 minutes because of that threat moving through the metro area right now. And I appreciate the diligence. Again, we issued the 10 weather impact alert 5 days ago in advance of this particular situation, and it has come to fruition. Unfortunately, at this time, we're not tracking any additional tornado warnings, but we still have some dangerous thunderstorms right now. One of the things we're calling to your attention, and it's very subtle, but it's important, is that this line of thunderstorms just moments ago had been consistently showing rotation. At the moment, they're still showing some rotation, but not enough for the National Weather Service to issue a severe tornado warning. The area bounded in the orange, Johnstown, Pataskala, and points off toward the west, including central and southern parts of Delaware County, Sunbury, Westerville, are still under a severe thunderstorm until another 40 minutes, until 10:45 p.m. So please keep that in mind. Even though there's no tornado warnings right now, we're continuing to watch and track this system as they expanded very quickly, and they could do so again. Although not likely, it's not impossible. So we're just going to play it safe right now and do what we can to keep you and your family safe as we go for the next couple of hours. So as we look at our perspective, we're going to zoom out just a little bit. That does show that entire line right now. There's Delaware County, you're in the clear. Plain City, Dublin, Hilliard, you're in the clear. London, all of Madison County and all of Fayette County, you are in the clear from severe weather. Yes, still some rain, some gusty winds, maybe a little unsettling, but in terms of any severe weather threat, you can very easily pick out where that is. Again, Delaware, right down 23 to Columbus, right down toward Commercial Point, Circleville, not yet in Chillicothe and Bainbridge, as that line begins to arc further off toward the south and west. And some active weather out ahead of that, Newark and Lancaster, Licking County and Fairfield County. This is not severe cells, just kind of a precursor to that line that's coming in. And we've been talking and watching very closely this evening, a little closer perspective right now. And some of the areas we're watching is the hail. And this is not an exact number, but basically what's showing, as you would imagine, areas where you see that deeper green, that's also hail. We've seen reports up to 1 inch hail that also would be indicative of a severe thunderstorm, along with some of those gusty winds and torrential downpours. So the hail threat right now, Sunbury, Westerville, Columbus, downtown, Lockbourne, and down toward Asheville. Another way of thinking about this is if you live in Sunbury, Johnstown, Pataskala, western parts of Licking County, over near Gahanna, New Albany, Pickerington near the airport, Groveport, down toward Lithopolis, and then western parts of Fairfield County, an opportunity for you maybe to bring some in. If you can pull your car in the garage, you might get wet, but you might have the opportunity to save yourself a little bit of trouble down the road, because this hail means business, and it's a pretty steady line from Westerville, Columbus, down toward Asheville. So something else, again, that we're watching and tracking very closely this evening. So we're going to continue to track this situation as it evolves with time. Earlier this evening, we were on 10 TV Plus, and just a reminder, even if we're not on regular 10 TV, you can catch us during severe or disruptive weather on 10 TV Plus. So an opportunity to download that app, just another means to get that severe weather information and to keep you and your family safe. So let's track that particular storm, if I can get that to show up again. Having a little bit of issue right now, maybe just a little catching the coattail there. We're going to track that line as it moves east, still very persistent at about 50 to 55 miles an hour. So we're going to do it in a couple of phases rather than throw 100 names at you. We're going to start just north of Delaware and draw that line down just eastern parts of Franklin County, and then move that east on 70 at about 50 to 55 miles an hour. New Albany, Pataskala, just mentioned those towns. Mount Vernon and in Granville and Newark, 1041 to 1048. Those areas, New Albany, Newark, over toward Dresden and Zanesville, are currently not under a severe thunderstorm warning. Not out of the question. At the very least, you're going to have a disruptive 30 to 60 minutes. And then further off toward the south, we're going to redraw that line, starting in Franklin County and Columbus, then going off toward the south into parts near parts of Ross and Pickaway in Ross County, moving that line east at about 50 to 55 miles an hour. Circleville, Pickerington, Lancaster, Buckeye Lake, Good Hope, 1022 to 1047. Again, moving east at about 55 miles an hour. Logan, Bearfield, Zanesville, and Philo outside of the particular warnings, further off toward the east. But again, while you're not under a severe thunderstorm warning right now, that does not mean you're out of the woods. And then further off toward the south, we're going to carry that line from Circleville and go right down toward Chillicothe and Bainbridge, stretching my knees out just a little bit, and we're going to go about 50 to 55 miles an hour. North Fork Village, Chillicothe, Lauroville, and Blackjack between now and 10:52. It's about a half hour's time. Logan, New Straitsville, Nelsonville between now and 11:09, and then near Athens in the Plains by 11:20. So just giving you some advance notice, a heads up that while there are currently not severe thunderstorm warnings for some of those easternmost communities and locations, you have more of an opportunity to be ready as that line begins to move through. So again, we're watching these warnings, Michael. I think they continue till about 10:45 as they move off toward the east at a pretty good clip. I don't know if you're seeing or hearing any other additional reports. A friend of mine around Powell reported some hail. We've had some pictures and some video. Just a note of advice, please. Do not go outside during this severe weather or disruptive weather and take pictures or video. If you can safely report from inside your location of what you're experiencing or go out after that severe weather threat has passed by, that's okay. While I'm speaking right here, I'm just about to toss it back over to Michael. We do have another severe thunderstorm warning right now. As the previous ones have indicated, a severe thunderstorm warning showing rotation right now. That has been the hallmark of these particular storms. That does include Licking County and Fairfield County, Newark, Utica, Fairfield Beach, east of Canal Winchester and Lancaster, and just clipping near New Lexington, bordering Perry County. Would not be surprised if central and northern parts of Perry County are in that. The reason this is particularly concerning, because of the 60-mile-an-hour winds, because of the 3/4-inch hail, this goes until 11:15. As it moves away, still a possibility again of seeing some rotation. This is the kind of setup that we saw that produced multiple tornado warnings just a very short while ago. So please keep that in mind. So we're going to track that again for you, a bit closer attention right now to those new warnings that just came out a moment ago. Zooming in right now to that radar scan, I'm going to hopefully be able to capture this in its entirety. And we've been doing this quite a bit and looking at this squall line tool. This tracking tool goes from near Johnstown right down the county line toward Lithopolis and then moves off toward the east. I don't know if I give myself enough room, and I haven't here. I'm sorry. Let me just zoom out for just 1 second to be able to give you the right kind of perspective here. I'll actually just pan a little further in that direction. It should give me enough real estate to track that. That does show, again, this particular line. Michael, it's still moving about 50 miles an hour?
Actually picking up speed now. Newest severe thunderstorm warning for Fairfield, Licking counties till 11:15, moving northeast at 60 miles per hour.
Northeast at 60. All right, I'm not doing it justice. I'm going to give it one more try here. Please bear with me for just a second. That's going to zoom things out just a bit. I need to allow for those speeding storms, unfortunately, as they're moving east and picking up some speed and some momentum. We're going to get it right this time. We're going to track that line from north to south, and then we're going to move that east at 65 miles an hour, did you say?
60 flat.
60 flat, there it is, right back. So that allows Pickerington, Lancaster, Granville. We just got done mentioning some of these towns to be on the lookout. And again, New Lexington, Zanesville, Coshocton, McConnellsville, Morgan County, a new county in the list right there. Those easternmost counties are beyond the scope, but we're really concerned ourselves right now with those areas in and around Licking County and Fairfield County. So please, if you're in those locations, take shelter right now. This is a severe thunderstorm warning that has shown signs of rotation. And that's something, again, we're very concerned about because earlier they have done a significant amount of damage to the west. We've seen some trees down, some significant hail. So we're trying to zoom in right now and capture some roads. A pretty rural area, but there's Croton, there's Centerburg, there's Five Corners. We're going to move off toward the south and then track that line as it moves to the east quickly, but we're going to move to the south. There's Johnstown, there's 37. Again, there's 161 moving toward New Albany. There's Jersey Township. New Albany right now, you're really under the gun, possibly getting some large hail and some gusty winds and very heavy rain. Summit Station, Blacklick and Reynoldsburg, along and just east of that line, Beechwood Trails, Pataskala, and Etna. There's Bryce right now. There's Pickerington, Picktown, Canal, Winchester, and then further off toward the south, Lithopolis. Right now, you're Rock Mill and around Baltimore and Buckeye Lake. You have a few minutes to be ready, but further off toward the south, that line is still continues. Amanda, Clear Creek, and Stoutsville are under the threat for those gusty winds and that hail. So please be ready, be inside. Hopefully, you have a severe weather plan right now. Michael, we've been on the air for quite a while covering these severe thunderstorms. not necessarily an opportunity to relax. The one thing I'm noticing, and maybe you can touch on and give my voice just a minute of a break, is down to the south right here, as we talked about. I'm going to zoom in for you just for a second. You do see this line kind of straight, and then it kind of curves back around again. Not a guaranteed or a lock or an indication, but I want to get your thoughts on that as that line races east at about 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an indication of where we're seeing some of those stronger winds. This might be a little bit of a Boeing segment from just about the Peebles area up through Clear Creek and through Chillicothe. So I would expect that area of the line to potentially be picking up some of those stronger winds. And again, we're adding severe thunderstorm warnings to the mix here, including a new severe thunderstorm warning just coming down now, an extension of the area in out of Fairfield County, now crossing into Perry County. This would be crossing into the Charleston, West Virginia Weather Service office. So basically, they're just filling in the gap there on the edge of what's coming out of Fairfield County. Rotating thunderstorm potential. Also, what we're watching for wind speed 60 miles per hour, possibility of hail about 3/4 of an inch. We've seen some information from our spotters out here in Columbus. This came in from one of the Columbus ham radio Skywarn operators. 4 inches of rain reported at Hoover and SR 665, along with pea-size hail near Alkire and Big Run Road, also at Carl and Schrock Road, that is, reporting pea-size hail. So we haven't seen the massive hail, but we've seen heavy rain, we've seen the wind, and we've seen that potential for rotation, and that has all added up to produce some impacts across central Ohio, including to power. We've been monitoring those latest power outage alerts across the region. I want to go ahead and toss things over to our Colin Dorsey. He's been tracking those power outages now. Colin, what are you seeing right now as far as those impacts go?
Yeah, Michael, as we've kind of been following that storm, we could expect a lot of those outages really to be to the south and southwest of Columbus, and that is what we're seeing right now. The most that I'm kind of looking at right now is around the Jeffersonville area, about 427, and that is through AES Ohio. But if we go down to the south, over here between Mount Sterling, Grove City, we've got 54 people out there with South Central Power Company. Altogether, 87 customers out there to the south and southwest. Let's take a look over at First Energy. Now, that's if you're over towards the Springfield area, Dayton area, Grove City. We're not seeing a whole lot of outages there here in central Ohio. That 1,900, almost 2,000 number is also including a string of outages up towards Mansfield, the Toledo area as well as that we're seeing. So now, if you're on Columbus Municipal Power, we're starting to see some outages come in there. Of course, we've heard a few reports of trees and lines down there, especially on the south side of the city, and those are starting to appear here. Each one of those little green lightning bolts is talking about up to about 5 customers out at a time. So that's what we're looking at through Columbus. Now, if we go out to AEP, if you're out elsewhere through the area, we've got a few people out over towards Newark. We've got 5 customers out there. We'll zoom into Columbus. This number is starting to increase. If you're out towards the New Albany area, we're looking at 162 customers out of power. Let's go down here towards Urban Crest. That number just popped up. It's 2,200 customers now down towards the southwest side of the Columbus area. So as we keep looking through these, of course, these take a little bit of time to filter in once people start calling these outages into their area. So we're tracking about 5 different power companies. So right now, as I said, most of those outages are coming to the south and southwest of Columbus. Jerry, Michael?
Yeah, thanks there, Colin. I want to go ahead and get back to Max 1 real quick, just to update you on the storms as they push to the east. We've added new counties under severe thunderstorm watches. That takes up pretty much the rest of the counties in the 10 TV viewing area east of I-71. They will be under a severe thunderstorm watch tonight until 3 a.m. Counties in yellow still under a tornado watch. That goes till 1 a.m. And of course, we're watching those storms that continue to pick up warnings here tonight. We'll switch back over to Weather 2 And Jerry has the latest on those alerts.
So that's a little bit of good news. There's a silver lining in any of this, as we kind of caught that tornadoes and those warnings as they raced from west central Ohio to parts of central and eastern Ohio. And that severe thunderstorm watch has been issued, not a tornado watch. We're still looking, again, just moments ago, this line of thunderstorms was in the center of the frame, just a testament to how fast that's moving off toward the east. As we expand this view just a bit, we want to take a moment and issue some all clears for our friends in Delaware, in Marysville, and Columbus. You're clear. Commercial Point, Circleville, still some dicey weather in Circleville, but Washington Courthouse and London, you're in the clear. So you can rest easy from the threat of severe weather, although you'll still be dealing with some downpours and occasional rain and maybe even a rumble of thunder as we go through the next several hours. But clearly our focus is along that line. Mount Vernon right now, you're getting hit pretty hard by some storms in western and central Knox County. No severe weather threat there, but some small hail and gusty winds. The line that extends and is producing the severe weather is where you see those outlines. That includes Newark and Licking County, Lancaster and Fairfield County, New Lexington and Perry County, and then just east of Circleville and just around Chillicothe. That's Pickaway and Ross County. So those are the areas I just mentioned of main concern. These storms have a history of producing hail from 3/4 to almost an inch. That's quarter-size hail, and wind gusts over up to 60 miles an hour. And some of these storms are still showing some signs of rotation, which means that at any time they could, what we refer to as a spin-up or kind of a spin-down tornado that's not out of the question from these particular storm cells. So we're looking at the opportunity again for some of the severe weather to continue. So we're going to wrap up our coverage for the moment on 10 TV, but we're going to continue our severe weather coverage on 10 TV Plus. And just a reminder, we appreciate the opportunity to interrupt your regular programming to keep you and your family safe. We hope you understand that even though you might not have been in one locations that were impacted by those tornado warnings, the people that were would appreciate that, and one day that might be you and your family too. Take a moment, download the 10 TV Plus app on your phone or your smart TV. That'll be an opportunity for you to watch our continuing coverage. And we also are monitoring on Facebook our 10 TV page. And also, what's that phone number, Michael? I'm sorry, it's 614-345.
Yeah, the 10 TV text line. If
Yes.
you guys do have any questions for us here, let me pull up that number for you real quick and get that over to you as well.
There it is.
There it is on the screen.
460-3345. So again, that's an opportunity for you to send in your questions with this ongoing severe weather coverage for this evening. So questions on 10 TV Facebook page or that text line. Michael and the producers and directors, thank you very much for that reminder. A lot of numbers to keep in mind. One number that we're watching again is the severe weather threat continuing. One of the components of that severe weather is hail. And we've watched this track of hail, and this is the hail potential. It basically shows in the thunderstorm where we're seeing those strong updrafts, which is supporting that hail, allowing it to gain some significant size before it falls down to the ground. Unfortunately, that included areas around Sunbury, Westerville, Dublin, and Powell in Delaware, now focusing on areas around Centerburg, soon to be in Johnstown, around New Albany, soon to be in Pataskala, and around Reynoldsburg, around Pickerington and Groveport as well. So those are the areas we're watching for that hail threat. So please keep that in mind as the severe weather threat continues to move off toward the east. We're going to put a track on that for you as we get into areas to the east. And that's one location that we're continuing to watch right now. Can get there we go, get the clicker to work. Maybe not, it's just a little bit finicky today. All right, we're going to wrap in about 10 seconds from 10 TV live coverage and go on to 10 TV Plus. We appreciate, again, you letting us into your homes to keep you and your family safe. Ongoing coverage, join us on 10 TV Plus. So thanks again for the opportunity for us to work on keeping you and your family safe this evening. We're tracking that line of still severe weather right now in parts of Licking County, Fairfield County, and Perry County. So the things that we're watching most closely are the speed of the storm, potential for some exceptionally heavy rain and some hail, and the opportunity again for some gusty winds. These thunderstorms are still rotating, which means it's not out of the question. It's something that we're still concerned about. The possibility to spin up a tornado. So that threat is not dropped even though the tornado warnings have. So please keep that in mind. Everybody east of this particular line all the way to West Virginia is under a severe thunderstorm watch that goes until 3 o'clock in the morning. I do expect that line will move east faster, but keep your guard up for the next couple of hours as this line moves very quickly. Putting a track on that particular line right now, we're going to take it from top to bottom where the severe weather threat is, south of Mount Vernon, out of Knox County, but including Licking County down toward Fairfield County, and it points off toward the southeast of Circleville. That's moving east now at about 60 miles an hour. That does show areas around Lancaster, Newark, and Somerset, and New Lexington between now and about 11 o'clock. And then after that, Zanesville, Philo, McConnellsville, and Cambridge, getting into Morgan County, Guernsey County, Muskingum County, those areas between now and about 11:30. So we're going to continue our coverage on 10 TV Plus, tracking these storms, and if they are becoming severe or they ramp up again with some tornado warnings, then we're going to flip back over, still continuing on 10 TV Plus, but then going with 10 TV for our ongoing coverage right now. So let's expand this view just a bit and provide a little bit of perspective for you. Those areas we're watching include the line all the way pretty much right across the state right now. So we're going to zoom out just a little bit. That will give you the opportunity to kind of get some perspective, kind of arcing from Cleveland back toward Newark, and then again arcing back toward the south and west from Chillicothe down toward Ross and Pike County, then back toward Peebles, and then near Maysville and the Kentucky-Ohio line. So the one thing we're noticing is what was a pretty straight line with some very gusty winds as it moved west to east at a very good clip, west of I-75 earlier this evening, about 8 o'clock, now has begun to take a couple of different shapes. And that's not always concerning, but the one thing that sometimes happens is that those individual little pockets will begin to bow out, and that sometimes can produce a tornado, but also a little exceptional burst of energy or gusts of wind. So we're going to, again, we'll look at that and track those particular thunderstorms and the strongest ones for you right now. Zooming in, starting with around Newark and Lincoln County. That area right now just north of Etna, west of Newark, and south of Mount Vernon. That's where the greatest threat is for those gusty winds and the hail and very heavy rain. We're going to zoom in a little bit closer for you. That does show not a ton of streets out there, a little bit rural, but you get the idea. From Utica back toward Johnstown, down 37 toward Alexandria, and then down toward Granville. We're going to go south toward Beechwood Trails and just follow this line and then talk about some of the communities and towns that are under the greatest threat around Pataskala, Kirklesville, right on 70, Buckeye Lake right now, and Newark. They're a little bit ahead of the line, but that nasty weather is coming your way. Just about to pass through Pickerington, but that means it's bearing down on Baltimore and Pleasantville, and then further off toward the south through Lithopolis, but Lancaster, the central parts of Fairfield County, you're under the gun. Bern, and then to the east near Bremen and Rushville, also under the gun. Clear Creek, you're looking a little bit better right now, but further off toward the south and east around Tarleton and Laurelville, those areas are still something we're concerned about if those particular thunderstorm cells continue to move off toward the east. And then we're getting down toward Chillicothe, down toward Ross County as that area. And if we zoom in, you can pretty clearly see this. I don't know if this is a major concern of yours, Michael. Maybe you can add some perspective to this. Tracking these storms all evening long. Again, not a lock or an indication, but sometimes these subtle little visual clues on the radar scan can lead the meteorologist, in our case, to be a little more concerned about that than just a straight area of rain.
Yeah, potentially could see some stronger winds down in Chillicothe. I want to go ahead and say I think a lot of people were watching the end of that broadcast there, because as soon as we put that number up, boy, the text line exploded with messages. So we're trying to get back to you guys as fast as we can, but we're talking probably 50, 60, 70 messages came in a matter of about 2 minutes there. So we're trying to get back to you guys as quickly as possible. Now that might take a few minutes here. What we're watching out there in terms of the remainder of this line is still that risk for some rotation on the leading edge. Let's switch back over to Weather 1 right now, and we'll show you the bigger picture there of that line as it pushes into central Ohio, or pushes through central Ohio, that is. Still up from Newark down to Lancaster to Circleville to Chillicothe. All of these severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place are for the risk of rotation in the thunderstorm. So those are things that we have to stay concerned with as we head through the rest of this evening, is do we see any more areas of rotation in the thunderstorm? Right now, though, again, kind of a fairly straight formation until you get down to about Ross County. Then you get a little bit of a bend in there, maybe some sign of a little bit stronger winds down there on the southern end of the line. We're really going to have to watch that leading edge there, though, to see if we do pick up any signs of rotation that comes with these storms as they keep pushing further to the east. Keep in mind, we think the threat for tornadoes will be decreasing as these storms move further to the east. If you remember our outlook for severe weather today, let's go ahead and put that back up on the screen here. The storm risk factors, we were going to get low lower as we moved further east. The latest update that came down this evening, they did extend some of that higher risk category out further to the east, now covering the entire eastern side of the 10 TV viewing area as well. However, I still think we're going to see a lower risk for tornadoes the further east that we get. That lines up with the watches that we're seeing out there from the National Weather Service as well. They did extend severe watches across the rest of the 10 TV viewing area. That covers all the counties there in the pink until 3 a.m. under a severe thunderstorm watch. So again, a very active line pushing through. Many counties, even all the way back out toward Urbana and Springfield, still under a tornado watch. But I would say most of you at this point are in the clear. In fact, let's put a line here on the map. I would say everyone on this side of the line is in the clear. Everyone on this side of the line, you guys need to still stay aware of storms as we head into this evening, because you could still see some of those strong areas push in as we work our way through the next few hours. Let's switch back over to the regular radar here and show you those latest alerts across the region. Still in place for Newark, Licking County, continuing on down toward Fairfield County, Perry County, portions of Pickaway County, eastern Pickaway, and portions of eastern Ross County still under those severe thunderstorm warnings for the possibility of rotation. I want to put some of the warning information up on screen for you here. We'll track just how long some of these warnings are expected to last. The warning that is in place for portions of Fairfield, Franklin, and Licking and Ross, that goes for about another 2 minutes, expected to expire here at 10:45. Then that warning will be done. The warning that continues on into Fairfield County, this one goes until 11:15. So we've got some time left, roughly about a half hour before that particular one expires. We have another one again over in Perry County, goes until 11:15, and Licking County until 11:15 as well. And just to show you some of the impacts that these storms have been causing, we do have from our producer some new video from Plain City out there as well. You can see just how heavy the rain was. I couldn't tell if that backyard was flooded. Might have been a little bit, maybe more like pavement out there, but you can tell how heavy the rain is, the frequent lightning that was coming down. And really, if this was coming through the daytime, would be quite an ominous storm system. I don't know if it's possible to switch to the video that we had earlier from outside our station, but if you didn't see that video, that was very impressive video of some of those strong storm cells pushing into central Ohio. New severe thunderstorm warning coming out at this hour. It's for that warning down to the south out of Chillicothe. While that first warning has expired now at 10:15, we are adding a new warning on top of it as we get into that area of the storm advancing out of Ross County. This is going to go in toward Athens here in the next little bit. Looks for Athens, Gallia, over toward Jackson and Benton counties. This will go until, excuse me, this will go until 11:30 tonight. 60-mile-per-hour winds, 3/4-inch size hail, and again, the possibility for rotation in that thunderstorm. Radar indicated rotation, what we're watching here. I want to take a peek inside the storms because it's been a minute since we've shown you that view, just to see if we are seeing any of those signs of rotation here again. We're starting to get a little bit further away from the radar out of Wilmington, so not as strong of a rotation sign as what we saw earlier from their radar. But again, we're kind of entering that area where we're not really near any one radar for a good scan of the storm. We're kind of here at the 50,000 feet level. So let's zoom in just a little bit more and see what we see along the leading edge of this thunderstorm. Not seeing too much in the way of concerning signatures coming out of Ross County. Maybe some weak rotation on the edge. Nothing that jumps out as being particularly strong. Traveling up toward Fairfield County, similar picture. Perry County, not much. Up toward portions of Licking County. also not so much. I'm going to check a couple other radars here because, again, we're kind of in that no man's land we talk about where there's not really a good radar to get a picture inside the storm. We'll switch to Pittsburgh here and see if we see anything in Licking County. Wait for that new scan to come by. Nothing particularly that jumps out as being an immediate threat for rotation, which is good news there. We'll make our way further back down to the south, down into portions of Fairfield and Perry counties. Fairfield and Perry counties. Not seeing, again, much in the way of any kind of real rotation potential, and there may be some weak signatures. Before we move further south, we'll switch this over toward the Charleston radar out of West Virginia as we get closer to southern Ohio and see what kind of information that we see pushing our way further to the south there. Before we do so, let's check that new thunderstorm warning. I think this one just a basic thunderstorm warning compared to the ones that we've seen here tonight. This one is for Hocking and the rest of Fairfield County. That goes until 11:30 here tonight. 60-mile-per-hour winds, 3/4-inch diameter hail, not indicating the rotation possible. At least I'm not seeing that rotation possible tag on that portion of the thunderstorm. That's good news because we want to get away from those rotating thunderstorms. And if we just have some wind producers, that would be a better signature. And as soon as I say that, here comes a new rotating thunderstorm warning. Seeing again down here into Ross County, possibly some weak signs of rotation, but we're pretty far away from that particular radar in Charleston. So again, we're kind of in that area where it's a little bit hard to tell. Here's the newest severe thunderstorm warning, rotation possible in that thunderstorm. This is going to continue with the line coming out of Licking County. This goes until 11:30 tonight. Coshocton and Muskingum counties under that threat, 60-mile-per-hour winds, inch diameter hail, and the possibility for a rotation in the storm. We don't have any tornado warnings in place right now, but that is certainly something that could change as we work our way further into tonight. Jerry?
Awesome. And we're looking at the opportunity. I tried to answer those questions as fast as they were coming in, Michael. I just couldn't type that fast. And we appreciate the information, the questions coming in from our viewers. You're talking again about an extension of those severe thunderstorm warnings right now. If we can go to Weather 2, that shows again some of the things and the threats we're worried about. Hail being one of them. That was downgraded from 1 inch to about 3/4 inside hail, still around penny or nickel size. That can do some damage. So if you have an opportunity east of Utica near Newark, Buckeye Lake, you still have a little bit of time. But as we're looking at this line of thunderstorms again, really doing a number on much of the area. Moving east, you're in the clear Delaware, Columbus, Commercial Point, and Circleville. Not so much further off toward the east. And as we mentioned earlier, just continue to see the extension of those severe thunderstorm warnings. Some of those thunderstorms have shown signs of decreasing the rotation, and that is welcome news, but still some gusty winds out there, and that's something that we're watching very, very closely and concerned about. So as we look at the continuation, if I can get this to pop on, this has really been giving me fits, so maybe I have to just get my suit tailored a little bit and get that tail tucked in or something, because it's just absolutely not cooperating with me this evening. Maybe I just need to grow a couple of inches too. So there we go, whatever. All right, we're going to move off toward the east and kind of track that with the map. Bear with me for just a minute here. Sometimes it happens when you're doing live TV. It just doesn't exactly go your way. But one thing that we're watching, again, just kind of level setting and taking a step back. This line has been moving east at between 50 and 60 miles an hour, at times at about 65 miles an hour. Some parts of the line slowing down, still creating a bit of a punch in terms of the gusty winds, the small hail, heavy rain, and some lightning. But we're looking at then Coshocton and Zanesville now, Coshocton County, Muskingum County under the gun, New Lexington, northern parts of Perry County, eastern Licking County, eastern Fairfield County, and now all of areas in and around Hocking County, and then down to the south and west. Those are the areas that are still having some concern for us. So I'm going to put the lightning on there. One of the things that we've been watching is that lightning intensity doesn't always mean that things are settling down, but earlier, just for a frame of reference, in a similar radar viewpoint, we had hundreds of 250 to about 300 lightning flashes that just measures them within the frame of what we're looking at. Now we're down to about 60. Again, still some gusty storms, still some hail, some wind, and some of these thunderstorms are still rotating, so I'm not telling you that we're out of the woods, but just the trend. The indications are that these thunderstorms are weakening ever so slightly, and we'll take that as a win, especially after the rough weather that much of central Ohio has been under over the past couple of hours. So let's take a little closer perspective right now down to the south and west where those warnings continue. Again, we're going to zoom in and go right down this line as we've done a couple of times this evening. We'll try and walk through areas that are currently under the greatest threat, areas that are in the clear, and areas that will soon be under the threat from these storms as they move east at about 40 miles an hour. So let's zoom in and get as close as possible and still maintain some perspective. We're going to start around Lancaster, south and east of Lancaster. You do see around Bern, around Good Hope, and around Bremen and Rushville. Yes, there's some lightning flashes there, but the main thing we're worried about are the winds and the rain and the hail. Now we're going to go further off toward the south and move slowly but surely and talk about areas to the south of Lancaster. There's Good Hope, there's Laurel, and there's Laurelville, and that's the southeastern corner right on the border there of Pickaway County and around Hocking County. That area right around 180 and 56 and around 327 where those roads convene on Laurelville. And again, that's signal looking rather ominous moving into western parts of Hocking County. Further off toward the south we go. We're looking at areas right along the border there. We're at the current moment, Chillicothe, not under a severe thunderstorm threat. You're in the clear. Further off toward the east, you're not. We'll try and zoom in a little bit and show some of those roads out there. There's 35, there's 327, there's 23, again, very well-traveled, well-known road going from Chillicothe down toward Waverly. I suspected, and the National Weather Service actually did issue an extension of that severe thunderstorm warning for that particular segment, which is showing a little bit kind of a bow structure or kind of arcing outward a little bit. And sometimes that's an indication, and those little pockets can produce some gusty winds and some hail. Not a sure thing, but sometimes they also can produce a spin-up tornado as well. So we're watching, still very diligent about some of those, and we appreciate you watching us right now. And in fact, another thunderstorm warning has been issued, a severe thunderstorm warning, a rotating thunderstorm right now, and that's what we're going to pay attention to in the next couple of seconds. There we go. Another thunderstorm warning that includes right now until Sunday at 11:30, Fairfield, Hocking County. Wind speed 60 miles an hour, hail size up to 3/4 of an inch. That again continues to the east as expected. So we're now looking at Morgan County, northwestern parts of Athens County, eastern and central parts of Hocking County, and almost all of Vinton County. The thunderstorm extends all the way to 11:30 p.m. The other thing we're watching, and it's subtle, and if you've been paying attention and kind of watching at home, hopefully you made it through these storms safe. If you're watching and tracking these areas, for us, that's something to be very concerned about. But the one thing also to notice is that we have different kinds of severe thunderstorm warnings. It's an important but a subtle difference. An average or a regular thunderstorm warning can have gusty winds and heavy rain and hail. Thunderstorm warning, a destructive thunderstorm, 70+ mile-an-hour winds. What we've been seeing consistently all evening long, and it's still concerning, is that these thunderstorm warnings have a black border around them. That's a visual cue to us, and then we can communicate to you that these thunderstorms are still rotating. Still an opportunity for some spin-up tornadoes along these lines, and that's why we're still on 10 TV Plus. We appreciate you joining us. We encourage you to send in your questions, 614-460-3345, and also to 10 TV, a Facebook page. We're trying to monitor those and let people know if they're safe or let people know if they're still in danger. And that's, again, what we're focusing on right now. So currently in danger is to the east of that line. We're going to zoom back out and kind of capture some of those new severe thunderstorm warnings for you. So let's just clean up the radar a little bit, make it simple, and then we're going to zoom that map out a little bit, allow you to be able to get some perspective here. Sure. Let me just give a quick update here and show the scope of these all the way Zanesville, New Lexington, McConnellsville, Athens, Laurel, Hocking Hills, MacArthur, and down to Jackson. Those are all severe thunderstorm warnings that go until 11:30. And not only have we seen hail, gusty winds, and very heavy rain, we've also had some power outages. A quick update coming from Colin Dorsey, who's been monitoring that this evening. Colin, what have you got?
Yeah, hey, Jerry. As we mentioned the last time you saw me, was that they will start to pour in, and that they have. Here in the last few minutes, we've seen the AEP outage map tick up to about 18,000 customers out of power. A lot of those down toward the Grove City area and up over towards New Albany, a few out over towards Newark as well. So let's go even farther out to the south and southwest. If we take a look at South Central Power, about 1,500 customers are out there, ticking up towards 1,600 slowly through the evening. Now, if we go a little bit farther west over towards the Dayton, Yellow Springs, Jeffersonville area, that number has been about 4,200 for the past 20 minutes or so. So that hasn't changed. Let's see, 2,300 if you're under First Energy, Ohio Edison. So those are the folks southwest of Grove City, kind of that London area, Mount Sterling, about 2,400 customers out as well. But right now, what we are seeing the most of are those AEP customers. Right now, about 18,000 customers, most of those here in central Ohio. There's also a handful out up towards Galleon as well. Jerry?
Line. Appreciate the update there, Colin. We're really looking at the threat continues for some of our spots. Let's go to weather 2 if we can. That shows a continuation of that line, and behind Michael you can actually see those updated warnings and or watches, Michael. One of the things we've been watching and you've been tracking for the past couple of days, gotta make some room, is just some really solid work this evening. Appreciate the partnership and really doing keeping our central Ohioans safe. What we're looking at right now continues to be an extension of those severe thunderstorm warnings. And as I mentioned, and it's something we've been watching pretty closely, is that they continue to show rotation. Not a lot, if any, tornado warnings, and that is good news as we're seeing that threat being taken down and reduced, but still not out of the woods. And this is something that you actually issued the weather impact alert 5 days ago. And it's oftentimes we try and give people as much advance notice as possible. A lot of people were sending in questions a couple of days ago. What exactly is going to happen where I live? We really weren't able to answer those questions until today. In real time, we're continuing to do that and watch that, but that's something we're watching very closely.
Yeah, we continue to get those questions in to our text line as well. We've got our Colin Dorsey sorting through some of those questions over there. And Colin, looks like you got a couple questions for us as well.
Yeah, most of those are revolving around, am I safe right now? We're starting to see a few of those out to our east, a couple people out towards the Steubenville area, which of course is a good ways east of here. So I know you guys are kind of tracking that as it heads out towards the Pennsylvania, West Virginia area.
Yeah, so what we're looking at right now, if we can put up Max One either in a split box or with us here, we're looking at anywhere to the west of this line of storms is pretty much in the clear. So that's good news for you guys. I'll draw that line on here. I would say anywhere this direction of that line, you are pretty much done for the night. You don't really have to worry about severe weather anymore. If you are in front of this, especially if you're heading this particular direction, probably even down further toward the Ohio River Valley, these are areas that you would need to be more concerned about, and still possibly for that risk of some rotating thunderstorms out there as well as these storms push through.
Let's go to the weather 2. Kyle, our director, is doing a great job this evening. And one of the things we look at when we're looking and breaking down these thunderstorms, and sometimes the visual clues are almost as important as what we're getting reports from the ground. And we emphasize it again, and we thank many of you for taking our advice and taking shelter first and then reporting anything second. Your family, your health, your well-being is #1 priority. Pictures and videos and severe weather reports are not. That being said, one of the things we look at and can do so from a safe distance is the rotation. And Michael, we've talked about repeatedly, drilled down in some storms and talked about the rotation here. And you can see as the radar scans, this is unfortunately an area in between a couple of radar sites as we're looking between Laurelville, Logan, and MacArthur and Nelsonville. However, we're seeing some of those areas, we call them couplets, where the red and the green are kind of close together. Now, this is still kind of broad rotation. I don't know if I'd be terribly concerned about that, but it's something that we're keeping our eye on. Obviously, the National Weather Service is doing the same thing. It's when that broad rotation reaches the ground that it's a problem, and that's a tornado. I don't know if you're looking at any other of those radar tools to find out if that might be happening, but that's why, even though there's not tornado warnings for those locations, again, we're looking at the possibility for those thunderstorms to rotate.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, we're kind of in that no man's zone when we get out into northeast portions of Ohio, and it looks like, at least from what I'm seeing, the Columbus Tower radar, which usually helps us fill in that gap, has gone offline. So unfortunately, missing a key piece of data in that portion of Ohio. And I want to keep a close eye on Coshocton County right now, because on the Cleveland radar, we are seeing a fairly interesting feature working its way between Ohio 79 and Ohio 5 41. If we want to go over and take a look at Max 1 real quick here, that's where we're seeing, that looks like some decent rotation possibility there with that particular portion of the cell. I want to switch over to the radar view here as well, just so we can see what that corresponds to. That corresponds to the leading edge of this line. So that potentially could be a concerning area to watch here. Unfortunately, we're too far away from Pittsburgh to really get any good information. We're also likely too far away from Charleston. Yeah, I'm not seeing much in there. No. But possibly concerning feature here on the Cleveland radar. And I'm going to back it up just to scan here and see if it's continuation. That looks to be a new...
Yeah, past couple of scans, what, 10, 15 minutes?
There might have been some stuff there coming out of Knox County, kind of unorganized, but then a little bit more there into portions of Coshocton County. If you're in the Tunnel Hill area, if you're in up to the Nellie area, Warsaw, Randall, Tyrone, these are all areas you should still be using caution for, because we could see a spin up happen pretty quickly along the leading edge of that storm. So that's going to be one to watch.
So let's go to weather 2, and I'm tracking that in real time. We're kind of doing the same thing. I was like a second behind you. But nevertheless, I think the important thing is to notice that where the radar scan coming from Cleveland has been showing the tighter rotation, what we showed you earlier was a little bit looser, but when the red and the green get close together, that couplet is tighter. That's an indication of a more concern. So we're looking at areas around Newcastle, Warsaw, Millersburg between now and 11:30. And this is getting outside of the 10 TV viewing area, but perhaps you're able to give your friends and neighbors and loved ones advance notice as that storm races to the northeast. Again, at the moment, there are no severe thunderstorm warnings on this particular area around Kilbuck, Becks Mills, Millersburg, and Bunker Hill, but those might be familiar to you. So if you're in and around those areas, or you know somebody that is, it's an opportunity for you to reach out to them and let them know that they've got to seek shelter, because even though there's not a tornado warning, remember, these thunderstorm warnings as a group have all been rotating. And a rotating thunderstorm warning, Michael, doesn't take very much, just a little burst of energy. Maybe it runs into something that's favorable for just a matter of minutes, and that's how fast that can go from a severe thunderstorm warning to a tornado warning. And you did some fantastic work about a couple weeks ago in documenting that this particular area is in what we call a radar gap. So just maybe talk for a second about that as we walk people through this.
So this part of Ohio is in an area where we're not really close enough to any of the National Weather Service radars to get optimal data on what's happening in these storms. And that's where we like to fill the gaps in with the radars that the Aviation Administration owns that work for the airport terminals. Yeah. Unfortunately, like I said, we've lost that connection here tonight, at least to the Columbus radar, so it's not able to fill in that gap, which kind of leaves us with some question marks around what we're seeing in the storm, because anything we're going to be looking at is going to be up high in the storm. But again, definitely at least some risk for rotation out there in the storm. And interesting enough, looks like a bunch of the data just dropped out from the Cleveland radar. So hopefully that comes back here. We're getting a new scan, looks like, right now, coming back in.
Might take a
kind of in that messy zone there.
Yep.
I still think that portion of the storm worth some concern. So we'll be watching that pretty carefully.
So it's we've done as best job possible, and we know that in some of the, say again.
We got another viewer question in for Colin.
Fire away.
There's a couple questions coming in, and both of them really deal with safety. Of course, we've got a lot of new people who may not have experienced this before. One of them, I just moved to a house in a valley. Does that make me any safer than anybody else? The other, is a crawl space safe? We've talked a lot about basements. If you've got a crawl space, are you safe there?
So the first one, the valley one, probably not.
No.
Severe weather and thunderstorms, oftentimes, everybody's, at least everybody that's of a certain age, familiar with the Slinky, the old favorite kid's toy. That is, it will obviously kind of go up and down. And thunderstorms that are rotating, if they're producing a tornado, the terrain doesn't necessarily matter. It might mess up some of the inflow that causes the storm, but it's not going to keep a thunderstorm that's creating a tornado from reaching that valley. So the answer to that question is no.
I would say a crawl space, it's going to be highly dependent on how that space is built in your house. If we're talking it's entirely above ground, it's just the space underneath your house, that's not really any safer than any other spot. If you have a sunken crawl space, something that maybe you can't stand up all the way in, but you can like at least walk around, move around in. Most of it's underground.
Yep.
In that case, yes, that would be a good place to be. But if we're just talking a ventilated space under your house that's not underground in some way, then no, not really any safer than another spot.
And to touch on that, I 100% agree with that. It's spot on. I've seen some crawl spaces that are concrete, the foundation of the home, and then they're beneath the garage.
Yeah.
So they're concrete on top and on 3 sides, and they're relatively small. So I would think that's a pretty good spot if you don't have a basement. Other crawl spaces might be under porches, which might be wood or another structure, not subterranean. I mean, underground is the key.
Yeah, and in many cases, we're talking a lot of people's crawl spaces are just sort of tarped dirt and cinder blocks around the outside.
Yep.
And they're not even really necessarily sealed against wind. So I don't think those would be very good places to be.
Yep, that's great advice. So let's go back to weather 2 for a second, just kind of take a radar tour. And Colin, if you get any other good questions, just speak up or you can come over and join us. You good? For now. Okay. Let us know what you get. Great questions over there. I think I got that number right. 614-460-3345. Yep. Our operators are standing by, or we're standing by to take your questions.
We are the operators.
Go ahead.
Somebody who says they live in a double wide. They live in a double wide trailer. Where do you go?
The thing with trailers, and it was one of the things we talked about in some of our Plus streams this week, there's not really a good place in the trailer. It's a thing where you need to find a shelter ahead of time that you can go to that's more substantial, be it a community kind of building, a community shelter, storm shelter, fire station, or business or friend's house that's close by.
Yeah.
Because once you get winds like we get with some of these thunderstorms, and particularly tornado, those type of homes they're not meant to withstand those.
Yeah, and that's one thing to keep in mind is that we're not trying to cause any trouble, but if you live in a mobile home community or a community where there is not a shelter or a safe place, it might be something to bring up if you've got a board or somebody that helps manage the properties, because as Michael said, you're basically in a vehicle. You're above ground. You're not protected by the strong walls of a house or an apartment or a condo. And your best place you can go is inside of that, and those walls are not strong enough to withstand a tornado. So appreciate the question. Again, if you are in a mobile home, that is not a safe place to ride out a tornado or anything with destructive winds. You want to have as much lead time as possible. And I think this evening that we've been getting some breaking news in right now. So keep that in mind if you live in a mobile home. Colin, you got some updates and some breaking news?
Yeah, Jerry, Michael, we're getting a report of a large tree on top of a home right now. That's over in East Columbus, and that's where we find 10 TV's Kristen McFarland. She's there at that home off No Bixby Road. Kristen, what can you tell us right now?
Yeah, Colin, I just arrived to the scene about 5 minutes ago. Right now, we know that tree fell on a home and firefighters are to the rescue. You can see here just how many medics are on scene. Now, that tree appears to be in the backyard, so it's not very visible right now. A bunch of neighbors are out in their yards. We are still working to learn more information about what happened here, but we can confirm a tree fell on a home here. Again, No Bixby. It is crowded with medics at the moment, but we'll continue to update you as we learn more. For now, reporting live in Columbus, Kristen McFarland, 10 TV News.
All right, Kristen, thanks. Once again, a large tree falling on top of a home in on No Bixby Road. That is in East Columbus. But we'll hand it back over to Jerry and Michael right now with the latest on what's going on to our east.
Yeah, the assessment of that particular line, and Michael was talking about the radar challenges we have in and around the northeastern parts of the viewing area, specifically around Coshocton County, northern parts of Muskegon County. And this was actually a little less than a year ago, Michael. There was a storm that came through, had a severe thunderstorm warning that went down, and then moments later a tornado hit. And I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but just that these things are still somewhat inherently unpredictable.
Yeah.
And in that particular area is a greater concern. So you've got one radar perspective on your on the main weather computer. If we can take that and just take a look at that for a second and go full screen for a moment, just to give a bit more of a perspective and show what you're talking about and why that area is still concerning.
Yeah, so what we're watching is over here in Coshocton County, and you can see how the data comes in and out. Those areas of purple are unusable data as far as the potential for analyzing the storm. The reds and the greens inside the storm are what we're watching. We're looking at this off the Cleveland radar. This would be areas of wind toward the radar. This would be areas of wind away from the radar. So there could be some broad signs of rotation working its way through Coshocton County. And you can see, again, just a little bit about how unreliable that data is. It just kind of keeps morphing in and out as we head with that storm. So we're watching that very carefully. We'll switch back to just the normal radar here and show you what is up there in Coshocton County under a possible rotating thunderstorm warning here. Let me switch to just the Cleveland radar. We can clean up this feed here just a little bit. Possibly some interesting structures in there. It's not the strongest thunderstorm we've seen here tonight, but it's certainly showing at least some rotation in it, I would say, from my experience. This particular thunderstorm under a warning there in Coshocton County for about another 18 minutes or so. That warning itself is for the storm moving off toward the northeast at about 50 miles per hour, where these storms were speeding up a little bit ago. They're now starting to slow down. I do want to put a storm track on that leading edge. We'll take it off to the northeast at about 50. That's going to put it into the Keene area by 11:19, into White Eyes by 11:26, New Philadelphia by 11:48. By that point, it's outside of us here in the 10 TV viewing area. But again, these types of severe thunderstorm warnings are for the risk that rotation could pop up quickly inside these storms. So that's what we're watching here tonight to see if we do see that. Again, it's not the strongest sign out there, but over the past several scans, we'll back this up.
It's been consistent.
Yeah.
It hasn't backed down.
There's been at least some sign of rotation that's working its way through northern Coshocton County there. So it's worth watching carefully and probably treating that warning with some respect and going to safe spaces for that.
So a quick look at the warnings. If we can go to Weather 2, that shows the radar scan at large and then areas that are in the clear. If we mention your name, your town, your community, you're going to be fine for this evening, perhaps some gusty winds. But we're looking again, Mount Vernon, Newark, Columbus, Delaware, Circleville, London, Lancaster, those counties and communities, locations, Circleville, Chillicothe, Washington Courthouse, very rough evening about 3 hours ago, now faring much better. But as we look at the line that Michael was just looking at, that's further off toward the east, we're going to do a little bit of a tour. We're looking at some waning lightning, which means it's decreasing with time, but still something to contend with. South of Millersburg, north and west of Coshocton, that's the cell that we're watching very closely. Further off toward the south, we're just going to write down these severe thunderstorm warnings. Newark, technically, you're still under a warning, but it looks, indications are leaning toward you being in the clear. Hopewell, the same. Buckeye Lake, Pleasantville, and Bremen, Lancaster, Bern, you're in the clear. But Dresden, Zanesville, Roseville, and New Lexington, friends and neighbors in central and southern Perry County, still under a severe thunderstorm warning for about 16 more minutes. Then down to the south, probably the worst or most organized storm, aside from that one in Coshocton, Michael, is the one around Logan in Hocking County. That one is right down 33, headed toward Nelsonville, and although only western parts of Athens County are under a severe thunderstorm warning right now, I wouldn't be surprised if that extended to the east and then further off toward the south. So other areas that are in the clear, Circleville and Chillicothe mentioned to you, Waverly, our friends in Sunfish, and Piketon, some gusty winds and downpours, but it looks like, again, as we expand this view out just a bit, things are looking much better. Now, as soon as I said that, Michael, we're going to expand back further to southwestern parts of the state. This line is rocking and rolling. Lack of severe weather, which is okay by me, south of Clinton County. But that line could clip areas to our south, which would be possibly Ross and Pike County.
Yeah, they definitely could come down into Ross and Pike County. You guys have not really, well, Ross County's had some severe weather tonight, but down toward Pike County, not so much. So you guys have got at least maybe some energy left down there. It's hard to tell. There's some rain out ahead of this line, so that might not be the biggest concern in the world. But again, likely to have some strong winds down there because this is more of that Boeing segment of storm system, especially what you have there toward the west of Maysville. Definitely showing some really heavy rain signatures and some really strong wind signatures with the bow from Cincinnati down to the Corinth area down in, I believe that's Kentucky.
Yep, yeah, so that area we're watching right now, still some gusty winds and downpours. And then when we issued those communities that were in the clear, that simply means that the severe weather threat, the warnings have been pushed to the east. That does not mean you might still not experience some gusty winds and some rain and maybe some thunder, maybe even some small hail, and unfortunately on top of what we already got this evening. So that's a continuation we're concerned about, but not to the level we were, which is why we've been on for a couple hours with that continual severe weather threat that rocketed right through the metro and central Ohio. So we're just going to kind of take a little bit of a break here for a second and just letting you know what we're looking at. So give us a second to absorb the latest information. One other thing to keep in mind if you're still watching us on 10 TV Plus, Michael, or someone correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to come back at 11:30 with your 10 TV newscast.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's exactly at 11:30. I know we're a little bit delayed tonight because of the March Madness game
Earlier.
that was on 11:31.
Okay.
So very nearly the bottom of the hour there. We'll be back on our regular TV channels here. So coming up here in just about 15 minutes or so, 14 minutes, we'll be back on for that regularly scheduled newscast. Of course, we've got news crews out there working tonight to gather the latest on the impacts of these storms as they pushed through central Ohio. In fact, let me see if we have what kind of storm reports we have in the system here. If we can take Max 1, we can look at some of the storm reports. Definitely looks like we got some hail and wind reports from here in the Columbus area up toward Dublin. We have a report here of an inch diameter hailstone. That was from the Riverlea area. We have another report there of some wind, 54 mile per hour wind gust in Urban Crest near Grove City. Excuse me. Another report, 53 in Whitehall. So those are pretty strong winds, not as strong as what we saw out earlier today in Indiana, but still strong nonetheless. This report here from Lancaster coming in 53 mile per hour winds. So right around 50, 60 mile per hour winds, which is good that we didn't see those winds get up to that 70 mile per hour level. So something to be keeping a close eye on are the winds with these storms and that potential for rotation. If you notice here, this line of storms, as it works its way off to the east, getting progressively weaker. So we're seeing the good news there in terms of these storms possibly being able to drop some of these warnings here. I know they're supposed to expire about, excuse me, 11:30 tonight.
Yeah, well, it's all about the trends, right? Short-term trends by the minute, by the hour, by the day. We started talking about this trend, Michael, and give you credit where credit is due. 5 days ago, issuing that weather impact alert for this evening. It came to fruition tonight very quickly, and unfortunately, that's what we're doing right now. A destructive thunderstorm tag just issued a second ago, and that's something that we're going to zoom in on that right now. That includes the northeastern corner of Coshocton County, and that is until 11:30, tornado possible. Don't see many of those, but I talked about earlier why we have those different colors of those thunderstorm warnings. They're not all the same, and this one, in fact, is proving to be problematic. Again, northeastern parts of Coshocton County, Tuscarawas County, Muskegon County, that go until 11:30 p.m.
Yeah, midnight. Midnight, actually. I think you're grabbing the older warning there. If you drag that up to the northwest just a little bit, you can see it here on Max 1 until midnight tonight. Carroll, Coshocton, Tuscarawas counties, still a possibility for a spin-up tornado in that, on top of the risk for 70 mile per hour winds. Now added into that storm. So we were just diagnosing that storm for the consistent rotation of that particular storm. It hopefully does not produce a tornado, but the downside to that is while a tornado is something that can be very impactful and very strong over a pretty small area, maybe 100 yards or maybe a quarter mile, those destructive winds are often a challenge because they can cover a much larger area. Yeah, and speaking of our continuing coverage here tonight, again, we are about 10 minutes away from going back on for our regularly scheduled newscast. I think our production needs a couple minutes so we can sort of rewrap and reorganize that. Reset. So we'll pause our coverage here on 10 TV Plus. Of course, we'll be back though just about 10 minutes from now on Plus and on traditional 10 TV with the latest. Great. Yeah, thanks for sticking with us tonight. We'll see you in about 10 minutes. Aware of this one pushing through. We do still have several counties under a severe thunderstorm watch tonight. All the counties out there in the pink still under a watch. Down toward Athens County still under a tornado watch. The same as you get down to Pike County still under a tornado watch. We'll be here as long as the storms are in place tonight and keep you up to date throughout the rest of the system as it pushes through. Colin?
Michael, thanks. We do have some breaking news to report right now. A large tree fell on a home in East Columbus. It's led to a rescue effort. It happened on No Bixby Road less than an hour ago, and that's where we're going to find 10 TV's Kristen McFarland live for us. Kristen, what do we know about this right now?
Well, Colin, just moments ago, a person was rescued from a home. They were trapped inside after a tree fell on it. Now, this happened around 10:30. I want to show you that scene. It's still very active right now. There are lots of medics and crews here. Now, that tree we know fell on the back of the house from the backyard. Battalion Fire Chief Jeffrey Getter, I just spoke to him 5 minutes ago. He says at 10:30, medics got the call for a tree on a house here again on No Bixby. 3 people were inside the home. 2 were transported, and 1 person is being evaluated on site.
Yeah, so this type of incident, just very methodical, making sure we don't make the building or the tree unstable so that it causes more injuries to the patient. So it was a very methodical process, slow, making sure everything was braced so that we could remove the victim.
And Chief Getter tells me again, this is just another example of how strong and severe storms can be and what that damage can lead to, and just the importance of being safe.
Yeah, and Kristen, I can see around you a lot of emergency crews right there. Can you tell us about, give me a rough estimate of how many folks are there on scene, and were you able to see that rescue earlier?
Yeah, Colin, there are multiple medics on scene. I mean, there's some in front of me. There are lots behind me. I want to say at least 7 or 8 fire trucks here, and they had to call for extra support too to make sure that they could get the person out of the house safely. Again, just showing that this is a true team effort in this kind of situation. For now, reporting live from Columbus, Kristen McFarland, 10 TV News.
All right, Kristen, thanks. We've also been seeing power outages start to pour in across the region, the largest right now coming from AEP, Ohio, where we're almost at 25,000 customers without power. Quite a few of those coming out towards southeast of Columbus, and then also to the north or southwest of Columbus and northeast of Columbus over towards New Albany, down towards Grove City as well. Quite a few out towards Heath and Newark. Now, let's hop over to South Central Power Company. About 1,600 people still without power. That is to the south out towards Chillicothe, Lancaster. A few people out there. If you're under AES Ohio, 4,200 without power, 2,700 out through Ohio Edison. Quite a few people out also under if you're a Columbus Municipal Power Company. So if you get your power through Columbus Muni, you're looking at a few thousand power outages right now. So as we talk about this and we talk about the effects that weather has, you can always get a deeper dive into the forecast and the impacts that weather has on your life by getting a look at the 10 Weather Impact Show. It streams for free every weekday. A new episode drops at 2 every day, and you can watch it on your time whenever is convenient for you. All you need to do that is download the 10 TV Plus app on your TV to watch for free. Well, a semi-truck jackknifed on the interstate just hours ago. It caused first responders to shut down the northbound lanes of I-270. This is a look at the highway right now. At last check, the Franklin County Sheriff's Office tells us 2 lanes are back open. That crash happened between State Route 161 and Westerville Road. Now, here's video of the crash from around 8 tonight. You can see all of the cars stopped there. Brake lights as far as you can see. The Franklin County Sheriff's Office telling us that semi-truck blocked 3 lanes of traffic. 2 more cars were also involved in that crash. Sheriff's Office tells us 2 people were taken to the hospital. We asked for an update on their conditions, but we haven't heard back tonight. Well, in other news, 5 people are dead after 4 separate crashes across Columbus today. Police tell us the first 3 happened this morning. That first one happened just before 2 on State Route 161 near I-270. 2 motorcyclists were thrown from their bikes near Ulrey Road and hit by oncoming traffic and died. The next crash happened just 20 minutes later on I-71. Police say 1 person died in that crash. Then an hour later, another crash on I-71, that time headed north on near East North Broadway. Police say a person was walking on the interstate. Then after their vehicle had broken down, it was killed by oncoming traffic. Then just hours ago, police say 1 person died at the hospital after crashing their car into another on Phoebus Avenue. It happened near the intersection of South Champion. Police say a black SUV and a truck crashed just after 2:30 this afternoon. Several parked cars were also hit. You see them there. Police say one victim was taken to Grant Hospital where they died. Well, tomorrow is the last day that you can sign up for free credit monitoring. Now, this was a service introduced by the city of Columbus following last summer's cyber attack. The city estimated 500,000 people were affected with their information being leaked out onto the dark web. City Council's last update on that hack came more than a month ago at their February 10th meeting. The city said 95% of city systems have been restored. The rest should be restored in the next few months. They also said more than 22,000 people have already enrolled in the free credit monitoring. And if you still want to enroll, we've got you covered for that. All you need to do is just text that number there on your screen. Text the word hack to that number, 614-460-3345, and we'll send a link to your phone with all the information you need. Well, new tariffs on auto imports by President Donald Trump could drive up the cost of your next ride. Ahead in 3 minutes, the potential impacts this could have on your wallet and the ongoing trade war. And that's not a helipad. A chopper putting wheels down on an interstate today. What we know caused the pilot to make that decision that saved some lives.